It is the lesser-known GOP debates tonight, so we're going to hang out and I guess make fun of the remaining people who aren't going to be president. Okay, look, we're big fans of Vivek Ramaswamy, but let's be real. As much as we like the guy, and as much as a lot of us have routinely praised Ron DeSantis' leadership in Florida, none of these guys are going to be president, but I think it's still worth listening to what they have to say and then probably making fun of a lot of it or agreeing with some of it. You know, credit where credit's due. I don't know what Chris Christie is still doing here, but whatever, fine if he wants to be there. There is a bunch of news that might come up. Donald Trump basically said he'll be dictator for one day, just one day. And that was pretty funny. Joe Biden just canceled a whole lot more student debt. So we'll try to go quick because the debate is starting now. Before we get started, head over to castbrew.com to buy the best cup of coffee you'll ever have. Cast Brew is our company. It's how we sponsor the show. And if you like coffee, you'll like our coffee because Appalachian Nights, Rise with Roberto Jr., Stand Your Grounds. Those are our three blends. You got medium, you got light, you got dark. We got ground, whole bean, coffee pods, and a whole bunch of other blends. We even got Mr. Boca's Pumpkin Spice Experience and our limited edition Re-Rise with Roberto Jr. If you like the work we do, you can support us by buying Cast Brew coffee, but also go to timcast.com, click Join Us. There's not going to be a members-only show tonight because we're going to be doing a debate commentary. But we will read your super chats periodically when we get an opportunity. And so get your super chats in. But you will get access as a member to our Discord server where we can hang out with like-minded individuals and join the party. There's pre-shows, there's after-shows happening in our members-only Discord. So again, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show right now if you like the work that we do. Joining us tonight to talk about this and a whole lot more is Tom Sauer.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, such a pleasure to be back here with you guys. Total honor. Really enjoy it. So I'm a Navy Marine Corps Special Operations veteran, and I run a company that serves exclusively veterans for mental health and addiction treatment. That's what we do. So I was in town on the Hill advocating for all the guys and gals who are really seeking help. So, but obviously having a good time.
Debate is beginning.
Enjoying this. Let's go.
Yeah. We got Hannah Claire.
Hell yeah.
I'm Hannah Claire. I'm a writer for scnr.com, otherwise known as Scanner.
I have my crystals, and I'm Ian Crossland. What's happening?
And I'm Serge.com, and let's get right to it.
Let the debate begin.
News Nation, and we are live on News Nation and the CW.
Oh, the CW.
It is make or break time for the candidates.
I would love it if they had like an Arrowverse cameo.
With the primary starting just weeks away. And we have a lot to cover over the next 2 hours.
Ron looks tall.
So
I was looking at his shoes.
He looks tall. He looks taller. It's good
Candidates
for him.
will have 90 seconds to
Oh,
answer
look at he's wearing them.
questions.
He's wearing them again.
He looks good.
You could see his boots. You could see his boots.
You will all see the
Can't say
timing
that.
lights that will indicate when time is
Haley's
up.
flag,
and it's
black
time
and
to
white.
Stop talking.
Oh, he does not look
And the
good,
time
man.
we have
Wow.
is critical over the next 2 hours, so we ask the audience to please keep your applause to a minimum.
Excellent.
All right, with that, let's get started.
Is that Megyn Kelly?
On
Why
stage
is Chris
tonight,
Christie still here?
4 candidates,
Chris Crisco?
all
'Cause he's
vying to
wealthy?
become
I
their
don't know.
party's
Chris
nominee.
Crisco.
And given the state of affairs in our political
Yes,
system
he is-
right now,
he is large.
one of
They gotta
you
be
might
feeding him
very
something to
well
keep him coming
do
back.
it. Even many Democrats now admit that President Biden is a weak candidate. Just as many Republicans acknowledge that former President Donald Trump's multiple legal troubles could imperil
Oh, Rumble.
his quest for a second term. All of which means one of you could wind up the leader of the free world. Having said that,
Maybe, just maybe.
Mr. Trump is nearly 50
Sure.
points ahead of all of us.
All right, there we
29
go.
points ahead in Iowa, where the GOP caucuses are less than 6 weeks away. And so, as Republicans get ready to vote on whether any of you might be preferable to Mr. Trump, we begin with the question of electability. Governor DeSantis, your campaign and its super PAC have spent the most money, had the most high net worth donors, and had a wave of momentum coming into this race after your big re-election win in Florida.
He looks very
You were seen by
uncomfortable.
many as the candidate most likely to consolidate the non-Trump field.
He looks really
But
unhappy.
here we are, a month out from the first real votes.
Smile, bro.
And you haven't managed
They
to
tried
do
that.
it.
You saw it, right? He got
Nikki
roasted over
Haley
smiling.
is beating you
bad,
in New Hampshire and South Carolina now, and closing in on you in Iowa. Not to mention Trump, who is not only dominating in the early states, but is beating you in Florida by over 30 points.
Jeez, just
Is it
laying
fair to
on
say,
him.
as Senator Tim Scott
Up
did
against the
when he
wall,
dropped
Ron.
out?
When
that
he
voters
dropped
are
out,
telling
hint,
you,
hint.
Yeah.
Not
Rub it in.
no, but not now.
Only Rosie
So
O'Donnell.
we have a great idea in America that
Whoa.
the voters actually make these decisions,
Whoa.
not pundits or
someone
pollsters.
dialed that up.
I'm
Yeah.
sick of hearing
So
about
it's
these.
not
us,
me.
that was
I
them.
remember
Yeah,
the
that was
poll
them.
That was them, man.
in
That's not
November
us.
of 2022. They said there was going to be a big red
Nice
wave.
save,
It was
buddy.
going to be monumental, and that crashed and burned. The one place it didn't crash and burn was in the state of Florida. They weren't predicting that I would win the way I did, and I won the greatest Republican victory in the history of the state of Florida. I'm looking forward to Iowa and New Hampshire. The voters are going to be able to speak, and we're going to earn this nomination. And here's what we need. I am sick of Republicans who are not willing to stand up and fight back against what the left is doing to this country. You've got to be willing to stand strong, and you've got to be willing to beat these people. I'm the only one running for president that has beaten these people on issue after issue. We beat the teachers' unions when we did school choice. We beat Fauci on COVID. We beat George Soros when we removed two of his radical district attorneys. We beat the Democrats on election integrity. I have delivered results. That's what we need for this country.
Is that wrong?
And you have other candidates out there like Nikki Haley.
State governor of her lifetime.
Yeah. Just terrible
anytime
campaign.
the left comes after her, anytime
100%.
the media comes after her. I did a bill in Florida to stop the gender
He's shorter
mutilation
than
of
Nikki Haley?
minors.
Oh,
It's
no, they're
child
both wearing
abuse, and
heels.
it's wrong. She opposes that bill.
I wasn't meaning
she
that as a
thinks
joke.
It's fine,
They're
and
both
the law
wearing
shouldn't
heels.
get involved with it. If you're not willing to stand up for the
weapons or
kids,
something? What did
if
she
you're
call
not
them last
willing
time?
to stand up and say that it is wrong to mutilate these kids, then you're not going to fight for the people.
He's in trouble
back
now
home.
'cause he can never take 'em
I will
off.
fight for you, and
No, I
I will
can't.
win for you.
Who dropped 3 inches overnight on TV?
Yeah.
Ambassador Haley, you left government service in 2018 with just $100,000 in the bank. 5 years later, you're reportedly
Some
worth
brutal
$8 million,
questions.
Yeah.
thanks to lucrative corporate speeches and board memberships like you had with Boeing. Weeks ago, you met with Wall Street heavyweights, including leaders from J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and BlackRock. Several other billionaire investors are reportedly ready to endorse you, or recently have, all of which comes
You looking at
with
notes?
expectations. Aren't you too tight with the banks and the billionaires to win over the GOP's working class base, which mostly wants
Yes,
to break the
next question.
system, not elect someone beholden
If
to
she
it?
said yes, I might actually consider
Well,
it. I'd be
thank
like,
you.
wow.
It's great to be
She's
here.
owns
You
it.
know,
She owns
first
up
I'll
to it.
tell you, just to respond to Ron,
Yeah.
he continues to
Just to
lie about my
respond to
record.
Ron.
Oh,
I
geez.
actually said
Maybe she
his
start
"Don't
talking about
Say
the
Gay"
value
bill
of the
didn't go
military.
far enough
I'd be-
because it only
I'd
talked
listen.
about
She's
gender
gonna
until
dodge
the
her own
third
question
grade.
by attacking
And I
Ron
said it shouldn't be
DeSantis.
done at
It's
all.
not
that
a
that's
terrible
for
move, to
parents
be
talk
honest.
about it shouldn't be talked about.
When they're
in
like, oh, she's
schools.
worth $7
In
million now.
reference
It's like,
to
that's pretty weak,
donors coming
actually.
on board,
If you're like a
look,
governor
we will
or an
take
ambassador,
support
like,
from
oh, I book
anybody
you,
we
like,
can
you
take
only
support
made
from.
$7 million.
But I have
That's
been a
kind of weak
conservative
for
fighter all
you
my
know,
life.
like, come on.
I was a Tea Party candidate when I became governor.
'Cause it was popular.
We opposed every single corporate bailout we possibly could. We passed tort reform. We passed one of the toughest illegal immigration laws in the country. We passed pro-life bills. We moved in unemployment from 11% to 3%. We took on the unions, and we took on Obama when it came to the unions, the Syrian
yeah.
refugees, and everything in between.
just avoiding the
and
question.
so I've
I'm-
had a
I'm- I
fight.
actually am really
And so
impressed
as
with Ron
much as Ron
DeSantis so
says that,
far.
that's not true. But when it
Because
comes to
standing
these
in those
corporate
heels
people that want
is
to
probably
support
really
us,
hard.
Yeah, it's-
but
we'll
it's
take it.
true. I mean,
But
Stretches
you
your
can-
calves.
They don't.
Yeah.
I don't ask them what their
They got like a
policies
whiny
are. They
sound.
ask me what my policies
listen to
are, and I
this.
tell
Yeah.
them what it is.
This.
Sometimes they agree with me. Sometimes they don't. Some don't like how
Sometimes
tough
they
I
don't.
am on
Trump is like a
issues.
schoolyard
Some
bully
don't
who's
the
like
fact that I've
ganging up
signed
on someone
pro-life
else with his
bills.
buddies behind him,
Some
going
don't
like, "Look at
the
that
fact that I
fat
make
cow over
proposals
there.
with
She's
the
so
bailout.
fat."
That
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Everyone loves
That's
it.
who I am, and that's
true.
why
She just
the
doesn't
most
give presidential
conservative
to me.
grassroots group in the country, Americans
I
for
feel like I would
Prosperity,
never listen to her
endorse me.
with
She
that.
gives
Seriously.
ex-wife to me. She's going to replace Kristen Gillibrand as America's ex-wife.
It was about prohibiting sex change operations on minors. They do puberty blockers. These are irreversible. Talk to Chloe Cole. She went through this. Now she's an adult. She's warning against it. She may never be able to have kids again.
Shout out Chloe
That
Cole.
is what Nikki Haley opposed. She said the law shouldn't get involved in that.
Which
And
is
I just
wild, by
ask
the way,
you,
when
if
she
you're
waffled on
somebody
that,
that's gonna
like,
be
what the hell?
President of the United States, and you can't
I mean,
stand
his
up
campaign
against
has
child
clearly
abuse,
coached him.
how are you going to be able to
Now
stand
that
up
the field
for
is
that?
narrow.
That is the truth.
But Haley,
never
like,
said
did
that.
not give an
I said
unequivocal
that- I
answer
said
on this.
That if you have to be 18 to get a tattoo, you should have to be 18 to have anything done to
You
change
said
your
the
gender.
law should stay out of it.
No, she said it was like up to the parents, and it's like, no, actually, no, it's not.
It
It shouldn't be the parents for that one. Sorry.
Coming back to this issue. Mr.
You
Ramaswamy,
don't get to mutilate your kid.
For months, you campaigned
we
as a
go.
unifier. Then you stood up at the first
My
debate
boy.
and attacked all of your competitors as bought and paid for. The second debate, you
What a
changed
time.
your tune, saying, these are good people on this stage, admitting you can come across as a bit of a know-it-all
Oh,
and
please.
rejecting the practice of personal insults. By debate number 3, you called Nikki Haley corrupt, accused Ron DeSantis of wearing high heels, and
Well,
told
he does.
Ambassador
He is.
Haley she should keep a closer eye on her daughter.
He's not wrong.
Can you see how
He's
this
like,
has
yeah,
led
and?
some
He's
to
like, that
conclude
was
you are
funny.
not, in
And?
fact, a unifier, and to question your authenticity?
Megyn, I think there's a time and place for everything. We need somebody in the White House who absolutely is going to be a fighter when it counts. And I did say that there were some good people on that stage in that third debate. Doug Burgum was on that stage at that time.
Yeah, Burgumania.
Jokingly, Ron DeSantis is a good person, too.
Yeah, Burgum.
I want to go back, though, to Nikki Haley's comment from earlier that she is somehow not responding to the will of these donors. Nikki, you were bankrupt when you left the UN. After you left the UN, you became a military contractor. You actually started joining service on the board of Boeing, whose back you scratched for a very long time, and then gave foreign multinational speeches like Hillary Clinton is, and now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds up to the fact that and when I said they were bought and paid for, I meant the Republican establishment, not the Democratic establishment.
She does not like
Now
him.
you have Reid Hoffman, the
not at
person
all.
who's effectively George Soros Jr., funding lawsuits across this country against Donald Trump to keep him off the ballot, funding left-wing causes. We discovered this week that he is one of Nikki Haley's largest supporters. Larry Fink, the king of the woke industrial complex, the ESG movement, the CEO of BlackRock,
like it's so silly, but like you're a governor and ambassador, big deal, famous household name.
From bankrupt to 8 million?
Because it's after that meeting later that day that she says that every American needs to be doxxed by having their ID, their government-issued ID, tied to what they say on the internet. So I think that this is far more corrupt than I even imagined when I entered politics. But I will say this. It is going to take a leader from the outside with fresh legs from the next generation to unite this country. Not the broken politicians who are puppets of the puppet masters, but the actual people in this country. Thomas Jefferson was 33 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. I think it's going to take somebody whose best days in life are still ahead.
No kidding.
To see a country whose best days are ahead of itself. And I think I can reach that next generation better than anybody else in this race.
On the stage, I'm Vivek all day. All day.
Easily.
He always can outperform everybody verbally.
He answered perfectly.
First of all, we weren't bankrupt when I left the UN. We're people of service. My husband is in the military, and I served our country as UN ambassador and governor. It may be bankrupt to him, but it certainly wasn't bankrupt to us. Secondly, I did serve on the board of Boeing. I did a lot of work with Boeing when I was governor. They were a great partner to me. I served for 10 months. And then when they decided after COVID that they wanted to go for a corporate bailout, I've never supported corporate bailout, so I respectfully stepped back and got off the board. I love Boeing. They build good commercial airplanes. They build airplanes for our Air Force. I am proud of them. They employ a lot of people in South Carolina. But that's why I left the Boeing board. There's nothing to what he's saying. And in terms of these donors that are supporting me, they're just jealous. They wish that they were supporting them, but I'm not going to sit
Okay, AOC, they just want to date me.
They're just jealous because they got the sweet corporate defense.
And Vivek, he wrote a book talking about ESG and these woke corporations and BlackRock. The idea that I want to do that in Florida, they were managing our part of our pension, and then when they did the ESG, I took $2 billion away from BlackRock. We took action. This ESG...
Why is the
cameraman doesn't agree?
Yeah, that was weird.
And again, Nikki is
He
meeting
shook
with
his
all
head
these
yes, and the
people.
camera went no.
They want to use economic power to impose a left-wing agenda on this country. They want basically to change society without having to go through the constitutional process. We've kneecapped it in the state of Florida. The next president of the United States needs to be able to go to that office on day one and end ESG. And the fact of the matter is, we know from her history, Nikki will cave to those big donors when it counts.
Ron's 100% right. 100% right.
I did write that book, Ron, and the irony is Nikki Haley was heaping praise on me
Christie has
when
not
I wrote
even
that
said
book,
anything
but
yet.
now I worry. I was warning about the woke industrial complex in this country as
My wife just texted me saying this looks like Mystery Science Theater 3000. You know, we're just like watching and like commenting.
That's actually far more dangerous than it's really important for people to understand.
Great show.
We're marching towards fascism under Biden. Jack Smith has subpoenaed every last retweet that someone has issued from Donald Trump in the year 2020. The only person more fascist than the Biden regime now is Nikki Haley, who thinks the government should identify every one of those individuals with an ID. That is not freedom. That is fascism. And she should come nowhere near the levers of power, let alone the White House.
I've got to get to Governor Christie.
Too heavy-handed to use
can I just say, can you speak?
I really
appreciate it. How you doing, sir?
Good to see you.
Can you please speak to the requirement that
I'm just
you
happy
said
to be here.
We got to get him on the show. It would have been great if she was like, Chris, can you go?
Needs to out themselves. They're both.
There's the exit.
I would be happy to, and I love all the attention, fellas. Thank you for that.
Chilling.
You know, I'll say this. What I said was that social media companies need to show us their algorithms. I also said there are millions of bots on social media right now. They're foreign, they're Chinese, they're Iranian. I will always fight for freedom of speech for Americans. We do not need freedom of speech for Russians and Iranians and Hamas. We need social media companies to go and fight back on all of these bots that are happening. That's what I said. As a mom, do I think that social media would be more civil if we went and had people's names next to that? Yes, I do think that, because I think we've got too much cyberbullying. I think we've got child pornography and all of those things. But having said that, I never said government should go and require anyone's name.
That's false.
He said, I want your name.
Yeah. She absolutely said it.
These two are agreeing.
I know, right?
They should high five right now.
I said we were going to get the millions of bots.
She wants government ID to dox every American.
That's what she said. You can roll the tape.
They should play the tape. That'd be cool. I actually really love Vivek Ron team up.
It's funny.
I want Chris to join. Real serious blowback. So, because it'd be a massive expansion of government. We have anonymous speech.
She actually did say it. I'm just saying.
He's going to bring up a stool and sit down. They're never going to get to his intro.
Pulls out a donut. It's something that's important, and especially given how conservative.
Can we make Nikki Haley as America's ex-wife? Can we make that a thing? Because it's just I'm getting.
That means we got to get married to her first. I'm not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Against our own people.
She's a massive ex-wife.
I have to say, I'm going to give you 15 seconds, and then there is the governor, former governor. Because Ron is so hypocritical, because he actually went and tried to push a law that would stop anonymous people from talking to the press, and went so far to say bloggers should have to register with the state if they're going to write about elected officials. It was in the check your newspaper.
That's a gross mischaracterization.
I have never said government should
trample on your constitutional rights.
You can come back to it later.
This is more dangerous than the Democrats.
I love Vivek defending Ron. This is great.
Awesome.
Just that
I'm usually not somebody who gets missed, but okay, let's go.
That's not true. 2%.
He's making a comment about his weight. That's what
you
his
endorsed Donald Trump in
Yeah, he's a big
2016 and
fella.
2020. You gave him an A for his first term. Since then, however, you've turned on him, calling him a liar, a loser, a con man, and someone who cannot win.
Yeah,
You've even said that you got
it's like
into this
in real
race
life,
just
you're
to
like, oh
stop
man, you are.
President Trump.
Oh, you're big.
His approval rating with Republicans is currently at 81%. Yours is at 25%. Your best state is New Hampshire, and even there, 2/3 of GOP voters say they would be angry and disappointed if you won. You have not stopped, Mr. Trump.
Yo, that was ice
And
cold.
voters may wonder how you could
got some
possibly
great
become a
questions.
nominee of a party that does not appear to like you very much.
Does not appear to
Well,
like you.
look, Megan, it's often very difficult to be the only person on the stage who's telling the truth. And the only person who is taking on what needs to be taken on. I look at my watch now. We're 17 minutes into this debate.
I haven't spoken before
Except
this.
for your little speech in the beginning. We've had these three acting as if the race is between the four of us. The fifth guy, who doesn't have the guts to show up and stand here, he's the one who, as you just put it, is way ahead in the polls.
Why does he need to be there?
I've got these three guys who are all seemingly to compete with, Voldemort, he who shall not be named. They don't want to talk about it.
He just gave him power. He just helps
that
Trump.
when you go and you say the truth about somebody who is a dictator, a bully,
come on,
who has taken shots at everybody, whether they've given him great service
Whose ass
or
he
not.
kissed, by the way.
Is he seriously saying, I'm going to attack the
dares
most
to
popular
disagree with
Republican right now, and that's going to make me
Then I
win?
understand.
Who I endorsed in 2016.
defeat
How is he
three
going
of
to
them?
win a
Whose ass he kissed,
primary
by the way.
if Trump's
Maybe
polling
it's
at like
'cause they have
60 to
future
70% and he's trashing the guy?
Maybe those future aspirations are
speaking
now,
the
or
truth
maybe they're
against a
4 years from
dictator.
now. But the fact of the matter is, the truth needs to be told. And for us to go 17 minutes without discussing the guy who has all those gaudy numbers you talked about is ridiculous.
Money from Trump. There's no
I'm
way.
in this race because the truth needs to be spoken. He is unfit. This is a guy who just said this past week that he
rich
wants
coming
to
from
use
you,
the
bro.
It's like
Department
imagine
of
being in high
Justice
school and there's like
to
this
go
nerdy
after his
kid being
enemies
like,
when he
popular
gets
kid
in
is
there.
dumb. You're all dumb for liking him.
He is unfit to be president, and
He
there
is
is
right
no
for
bigger
calling
issue in
out the
this
truth,
race,
which is that Trump is ultimately in
Donald
control
Trump
of
and those
GOP
numbers
in this
prove it.
debate.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Governor
appreciate that.
Christie,
I just don't think his criticism actually helped him.
No.
Saying unfit.
Claps
in
for
just
this
a
guy.
moment, but I'd like to first get to some
Stop
questions
clapping.
on Israel.
Who's there? Do we
Governor
know somebody who's there?
Donors.
Tonight,
Where are they
as
currently
we speak,
at?
the war is
Nikki
back on
and
in
Ron's
Gaza.
and
Israeli
Christie's donors.
tanks
That's
are
either.
on the move and have surrounded
I don't know
the
where
home
you're
You're in
of
Alabama.
the leader
Oh,
of
I
think they're in
Hamas.
Huntsville?
8 Americans have been
I
held
want to text someone down there and be like, can you tell them to stop clapping? Because
It's not normal people that are there.
Yeah.
American troops and warships in the Middle East are under attack. How far would you go as president to secure the release of those 8 American hostages? And would it include sending American forces into combat?
Yes.
We have to look out for our people. When there are hostages, Commander-in-Chief, you have to do whatever you can to get them done. But the overall issue with this is this administration is trying to hobble Israel from being able to defend itself. They have a right to eliminate Hamas and win a total and complete victory so that they never have to deal with this again. Hamas wants nothing less than a second Holocaust. They would wipe off every single Jew off the map.
love it.
They would destroy the state of Israel.
Someone would just answer the questions.
Joe Biden will say they support Israel,
Well,
and then they
he
do
doesn't have a good
nothing
answer, so now
but
he has
try
to
to
critique
kneecap
Biden.
them every step of the way.
but you don't need to
you
give,
should not try to direct
you can still
their war
try to
effort.
give an
We should
answer and
work
it comes up
together
better
with
than
them
dodging.
so that they can bring Hamas to heel. Look, I served
think that tells you how
in
bad his
Iraq
answer
back
is.
in the day.
He's so
I'm the only
unprepared
one
for
running
it.
for president that
He
served
just said
in the
full-scale war.
military. I understand that part of the world. It's not the best part of the world. We do have troops there that Biden is leaving basically as sitting ducks. And you have the Iranians that are attacking these troops, and he's responding with basically pinpricks. If you harm an American service member, you're going to have hell to pay when I'm president. We are not going to let our troops be sitting ducks. We also need to look at what's the underlying problem here. Iran. Biden is doing nothing to bring Iran to account. You got to turn the screws on them. Don't let them have any oil revenue.
Iran and Iraq.
They send to Hamas, they
Hey,
send
we're in
to
America,
Hezbollah,
Tim,
and they
so-
foment jihad throughout the Middle East. So Biden
pedantic.
has empowered Iran just like he's empowered other adversaries. We stand with Israel. They're our best ally in the Middle East. We have a unique relationship with them, and you will see a strong relationship when I'm the president of the United States.
But would you send American troops?
Elizabeth, look. This is the problem with the first 3 debates. Ron gets asked a question, and he doesn't answer it. Your question was very specific. You said, would you send American troops as commander-in-chief? And
Thank you, Chris.
He went
Seriously.
on to this
He answered it. He said he'd
30-second
do whatever
hosanna about his
had
knowledge
to
of
be
the
done.
military and what we need to do, and
3
didn't
people
answer your question.
running for president,
Look,
and Chris Christie
when you're
assisting with the
president of the
moderation
United
of the
States,
debate.
you're not going to have a choice whether to answer that question or not. Your generals, your Secretary of Defense, your Secretary of State, your National Security Advisor are going to present plans to you. They're going to look at you and say, do we go or don't we, Mr. President? And you can't give a 90-second speech about your military service, as
So
laudable as it
would
is.
you send American troops in to rescue
I
those
would
hostages?
absolutely,
It's a terrible idea.
If they had a plan
Sorry.
which showed me that we could get them out safely, you're damn right I'd send the
I'll
American
take a real
in
answer
there
over a
to
non-answer.
get our
Yeah, it conveys more
people together.
confidence.
But he gave a
Now,
caveat
I'll
if
answer
they
that
had a real
question
plan.
directly.
Really bad
Thank you,
idea.
But
That
imagine-
would not go well.
It's not that it's a good idea, it's the way he
Mr.
conveyed
Ramaswamy.
it.
Right.
Here, wait.
You have said it was irresponsible for Ambassador Haley to call Hamas's terrorist rampage an attack on America and for her to, quote, rabidly shout, finish them, end quote. The
Rapidly?
Hamas terror attack left dozens of Americans dead and was the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Why wouldn't it be a good thing to finish Hamas?
Finish them was purposefully vague in a discussion that included Iran, which is what I objected to. And I think it's
Agreed.
as U.S. president, you have to be responsible. What happened to Israel was dead wrong. What Hamas did was medieval. It was subhuman. It was immoral. And we have to call that out for what it is on
Got a
October
strong
7th.
hand gesture.
But to say that that was an attack on America fails a basic test. I mean, Nick, if you can't tell the difference between where Israel is and the U.S. is on a map, I can have my 3-year-old son show you the difference. That is irresponsible because it has major
Also, he's just
consequences because that
beating
doesn't
up
leave
Haley
room for what
tonight. It's
actually
crazy.
is an
Well, because
attack
she's passing them
on
the balls.
America.
Sure,
So I
but
believe I have
it's
the
funny.
strongest pro-Israel position actually on the stage, even though it's a little bit different than the standard GOP talking points. And it is
They're
this.
laughing.
The founding vision of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, the George Washington figure of Israel, what did he believe? He believed that we don't want, as Israel, to depend on the fleeting sympathies of the West and have our hands tied. I think Israel has an absolute right to defend itself to the fullest, without the U.S., the UN, or the EU, or anybody else second-guessing their decisions, as the Biden administration, guess what, is now starting to do.
Yup,
I think that's a
sanctioning.
more deeply pro-Israel position than anybody else, and it keeps the actual lines of accountability clear because it is a pro-American position. And as leader of the United States of America, just as a father of 2 sons, my sole moral duty is to my family. As your next president, my sole moral duty is to you, the people of this country. That's how I'm going to lead. So I'll tell Bibi, you
Crushed
smoke
it.
the terrorists on your southern border, you go ahead and we're rooting for you. we're going to smoke the terrorists on our own southern border.
Crushed
and
it.
that's how I'm going to lead
Thank
this
you.
country.
But Americans were
Mr.
killed in that
Ramaswamy.
attack. Americans were killed in that attack. And so if you looked at this terrorist attack and the number of Americans, this would be one of the top 10 terrorist attacks in American history.
It wasn't
So
in
our
America.
own people were killed in that attack. And I think it's absolutely appropriate to point that out and to say that we're in this together and we are going to work with Israel so that these people are brought to justice.
I agree with that.
Ambassador Haley, I'm coming to
Simple.
you.
I agree with
Iran
that.
is on the threshold of becoming a nuclear state. The Wall Street Journal reported that Iranian military leaders gave the green light for Hamas's attack on Israel. You said in last month's debate that, by contrast to the Biden administration's approach to Iran, you would, quote, punch them once and punch them hard. Were you saying that it's time to bomb Iran?
No, I was not saying it's time to bomb Iran, but I will tell you,
Lindsey
I dealt
Graham
with
was.
Iran every day when I was at the United Nations, and they only respond to strength. What they don't respond to is when you weaken the sanctions like they did on Iran that allowed China to send them billions to fill their proxies. What they don't respond to is
The
when
UN
you
is
give
worthless.
$6
They don't
billion
do anything. The ambassador job
for
is
5
nothing. It's
hostages.
meaningless.
That only makes them want more hostages.
Yeah, I always
What
think
they
she'd wanna
don't
promote the fact
respond
that she
to
was governor
is when they
more
do
than the ambassador.
140
Yeah, exactly.
strikes on our men and women in Syria and Iraq, and we do nothing but just some small shots back. You've got to punch them, you've got to punch them hard, and let them know that. That's the only way they're going to respond. So the way you do that is you go after their infrastructure in Syria and Iraq where they're hitting our soldiers. That's what you do, and then that's when they'll back off. The problem is you have to see that all of these are
With
related.
Boeing assets.
If you look at the fact
Yep.
Russia was losing
Our
that war with
colonizer
Ukraine.
soldiers
Putin
that
had
have
hit
in
rock
Syria and
bottom. They
Iran
raised
colonizing the
the draft
countries
age to
like-
65. He
Yeah.
was getting drones and missiles, drones from Iran, missiles from North Korea. And so what happened? When he hit rock bottom, all of a sudden, his other friend, Iran, Hamas goes and invades Israel and butchers those people on Putin's birthday.
Oh,
There is
please.
no
You
one
know what?
happier right now.
I got
than
a,
Putin,
okay,
because
here we go.
all of
We got a
the
super
attention
chat.
America had on
It's
Okay.
from Dustin Trussell said, if Chris Christie devoured Nikki Haley live on stage, I would vote for him.
That'd be a good cartoon. Seamus, you listening?
At this point, I have
Right.
to agree because she's just talking so much garbage.
There is a reason,
So insufferable.
again, that Taiwanese want to help Ukrainians because they know if Ukraine wins, China won't invade Taiwan. There's a reason the Ukrainians want to help Israelis because they know that if Iran wins, Russia wins. These are all connected. But what wins all of that is a strong America, not a weak America.
Yo.
And that's what
She's basically like,
say one thing
we have to have war because
We need more war
everybody
here.
is bad all the
Policy
time.
experience is not the same as foreign policy wisdom. I want everybody at
Nice.
home to
Thank
know
you,
that I was
bro.
the first person to say we need a
Nice.
reasonable peace deal in Ukraine. Now a lot of the neocons are quietly coming along to that position, with the exceptions of Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who still support this, what I believe is pointless war in Ukraine.
No
And I
kidding.
think those with foreign policy experience, one thing that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley have in common is that neither of them could even state for you 3 provinces in eastern Ukraine that they want to send out troops to actually fight for. Look at that. This is what I want people to
She's so
understand.
pissed.
These
She's
people
so
have, I mean, she has no
pissed.
idea what the hell.
I didn't know the camera was
Got him,
military
coach.
equipment to go fight. So
No,
legit,
she can't even name-
telling you that
they're
somebody
called
had a cup of
oblasts,
coffee
by the
stint
way.
at the
Yeah, thank
UN and
you.
makes $8 million after, has real foreign policy experience. It takes an outsider to see this through. Look at the blank expression. She doesn't know the names of the provinces that she wants to actually fight.
Literally eating her alive.
Wow.
That was
The donors right there. They're complaining about the puppet
Okay,
master.
hold on.
Let me
Chris
just
Christie's
say
moderating. Thank you.
You know, his reasonable peace deal in Ukraine, he made it clear. Give them all the land they've already stolen, promise Putin you'll never put Ukraine in Russia, and then trust Putin not to have a relationship with China. Let me tell you something. That's no
That's
reasonable.
not my deal. That's not my deal,
Yes,
Chris.
it's exactly what you
I'll
said.
describe
You
my
do
deal
this
to
at
you.
every debate.
I'll tell you
You
exactly
say
what it
things.
is.
Don't
I'll
interrupt
tell
me.
you
I
what
didn't
to do.
interrupt you. Okay? You
Tell
say
them
this.
about how you
You
wanna
do
send our
this.
kids to die.
You
Go
do
for
this
it.
at
Thank
every
you.
debate.
Vivek.
You go out on the stump and you say something. All of us see it on video. We confront you out on the debate stage. You say you didn't say it, and then you back away. And I want to
I'll
say
tell you
what?
exactly
No,
what I said, Chris.
I'm not
Finish.
done yet.
That's
Well, this
actually
is-
Chris I've seen him
Hold on.
vacant.
And here's what I'm saying.
Getting angry. We don't want to get him.
I think Chris misspoke when he said put Ukraine in Russia.
The fourth debate
He
that
meant put
you would
Ukraine
be
in
voting
NATO,
in the
I think.
first 20 minutes as the most obnoxious
Probably, yeah, I think you're
blowhard
right.
in America. So shut up for a little while.
I'm going to respond to that.
I want to say
Your
something.
version of
We're going to let you respond to that. We're going to let you respond to that. Let him
I'll take that.
finish.
Christie eats
I want
Vivek.
to say something else. We're now 25 minutes into this debate, and he has insulted Nikki Haley's basic intelligence. Not her positions,
but
her
can she
basic
name
intelligence.
any provinces?
She doesn't know regions. She wouldn't be able to find
I'm
something
gonna
on a
defend her,
map
'cause I
that
don't
his
think she's
3-year-old
very
can
smart
find.
either.
That's
Look,
information, not
if you want to
intelligence,
disagree on
dude.
issues,
This
that's
guy's
fine.
cheap.
And Nikki and I disagree on some issues. But I'll tell you this, I've known her for 12 years, which is longer than he's even started to vote in a Republican primary.
That's not a dig.
Not an argument.
We disagree about some issues, and we disagree
They're all
about who
donors,
should
bro.
be
They're
president of
Republican
the United
donors,
States.
man. They're like
What we
the
don't disagree
scum
on
of the
is
earth,
this
you
is
know?
a smart, accomplished woman, and you should stop insulting
So
her.
I'm going to take this. I'm going to take several times over.
Dude,
White
that was
knighting,
weak.
white knighting for Nikki.
We just learned something from Chris Christie.
No longer on Team Crisco.
We learned 3 things right there. First of all, Chris Christie also doesn't know what provinces in eastern Ukraine he actually wants us to fight for. Foreign policy experience.
Ron is laughing at
was
that.
closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York. So do everybody a favor. Just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this race.
Whoa!
I think if you're going to actually send your sons and daughters to go die in somebody else's war, you better, excuse me, Chris, I'm speaking, and I'm not done yet.
I haven't
had your chance,
when you
and
weren't
we're going to be
speaking.
done. So
I don't know. It's
listen
like-
up
it's a
to
little
this.
much.
Is if these people want to send your sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine, they've been arguing for it for a year. $200 billion of our taxpayer money sent over. Neither of them could even name for you the provinces that they actually want to protect. And this is the people who have been touting their so-called foreign policy experience. It is intellectual fraud. These people are lying to you, the same people who told you about weapons and mass destruction in Iraq. To justify that invasion, didn't know the first thing about it, yet they sent thousands of our sons and daughters to go
Stop,
die.
he's already dead.
The same people who told you the
I know,
same about
dude.
Afghanistan,
Holy
where
shit.
the
It's sort of
Taliban is still in
like-
charge 20
some of
years
his other
later.
points are getting
$7
lost
trillion of
now.
our national debt due to these toxic neocons.
I don't mind what he's saying,
You
but
could
there is
put
a moment where you have to be
lipstick on
like,
a
I
Dick
deliver
Cheney,
points
it
down,
is
so I
still
want to
a
keep going.
fascist neocon.
He's crushing them.
Thank you, Mr.
Dick Cheney
Ramaswamy.
all over again in this
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. 15
Just poured
seconds.
gas on the stage, dude. Wow,
Name
man.
the provinces. Neither of you could even
Mr.
name the biggest thing about Eastern
Ramaswamy,
Europe.
You got him with that one, dude.
Luhansk and Crimea.
Think about that.
Let me just
Not Crimea. It's not Crimea. That's not the one they're talking
All
about.
right, the floor is Christie's.
All right, let me just say this.
Chaos.
You know, this is the kind of thing where he talks about experience. You know, I was the U.S. attorney in New Jersey when the terrorist attacks were launched against the United States in 2001.
That's not what we're talking
I brought
about.
the first two cases in this country against terrorists who tried to attack us again.
I just got to point
And
something
I
out.
know about the threat of terrorism,
The
bullying.
Remember 9/11 argument doesn't work when you have a large voter base, younger voters, who were not, who were little children or not even alive.
I was 20.
Mouth at Harvard.
I was
That's what
a
was
Marine,
going on.
an active duty
And
guy,
so,
but like I was
and
20,
the fact of the
dude.
matter
Like
is that
I
back
was a
then he was a
kid.
Democrat.
But even
So,
like,
you know, the
but you
fact-
remember
the
it.
fact is-
I was
the fact is
14.
that all he knows
But
how
there
to
are
do-
actual voters
all
right
he
now
knows how to
who
do-
weren't even alive.
all he
Born
knows how
after.
to do
Yeah.
is insult good people who have committed their lives to public service and not say anything that moves the ball down the field for the United States.
All right, thank you, Governor Christie.
I hate the term public service. Sorry,
It's
if you're
funny that
an
she
elected
said-
official, you're
Yo,
not a public
she said
servant. I don't like
Crimea,
that.
and that's funny because
Crimea's been Russia's for a long time.
Dude, that's not what's in contention right now.
Right. And so Vivek, I think he absolutely nailed them with that question.
Dude.
Which provinces do you actually want to defend? Well, they're called oblasts.
Yeah,
they're administrative regions, and they're basically just named after their cities. But everyone knows Donetsk and Luhansk. Those are the principal in the Donbass region.
Yep.
And then I guess the argument would be Kharkiv and Kiev, which is where Russian forces and attacked through Belarus.
Yep.
Crimea they want to liberate, not defend. But I don't want to be too pedantic.
Sure.
Nikki Haley. I don't know how she got those answers. Someone rushed to, did she check her phone, look down and be like, quick, give me.
No, I think the
Because you
problem
see the look
is,
on her
like,
face when he asked.
she is waiting for the moderator to be like, and now you speak. And that's not the game Vivek is playing. That's not the game, to a certain extent, DeSantis is playing. Like, he said it. She didn't even realize the camera was on her, so she's staring blankly because she's listening to someone who's standing over there. Maybe she does know the regions, maybe she doesn't, but it was perfectly teed up by Ramaswamy. She was not quick enough to respond. That's really what it was.
I think the fact that she said Crimea shows she doesn't know what she's talking about.
She doesn't.
And it took her like 5 minutes to get to it, right? She could have said it
Mm-hmm.
immediately. Instead, she was flustered by being called out. Like
Crimea's been for a decade under the control of Russia. And
2014,
in Sevastopol, the Russians have already been there well before that with their naval base. So maybe you can argue she didn't understand what exactly he meant and she was interpreting as, but I'm not playing that game.
Yeah, sure.
He immediately called her out. And if it were me, I'd be like, look, first of all, I don't actually care all that much about Ukraine. My whole position is more along with Vivek of we should not be sending troops over there and fortifying this. But immediately I was like, wait, I'm like Donetsk and Luhansk, like that's the news.
Yeah.
I can name those two right now.
Yeah.
Now, and then as for the other
You could be president too, Tim.
Yeah. The one thing I'm not sure of is I know those are the names of the regions, but I fact checked. They're basically the names of the cities. So
Right.
Kharkiv, Kiev, those are also the names of the
Belgorod, Dnipro. I'm reading them off a map
Zaporizhia,
right now.
etc.
Sumy,
Crimea.
Well, the funny thing is, if you think about it, right? So it's like, we pull out of Afghanistan in the most horrible way.
Surrender.
Full surrender.
My buddy who came with me here, who's downstairs right now, like he was up, like got no sleep for weeks, trying to get guys out. Right, a lot of guys did. Right, trying to get guys out of there. It was a total disaster. And then 6 months later, all the the military industrial complex, right? They needed new business, so it's like business development. Like, what do you know? Right, 6 months later, we got a new war, more money, all that. I'm not trying to sound too conspiratorial, but it looks that way.
Yeah, when they split up the Soviet Union and they gave all that land to the Ukraine, those oligarchs must have known it was going to cause contention with Russia down the line, not having access to the Black Sea.
Ian, we don't call it the Ukraine; we call it Ukraine.
It is borderland.
I know you're
borderland?
You're absolutely true. I'm no like Eastern European Russian expert, but I know.
Ukraine.
Right. It's like all of a sudden everyone has to say Kyiv now instead of Kiev. Come on.
We spelled Zelensky's name like 3 different
Zelensky.
ways. It's crazy. How many Y's? Fewer Y's? Maybe more Y's?
7 Y's.
I think it is worth noting that ultimately Christie was right that it's about Trump more than anything else.
Of course.
And it is interesting to watch the fighting. Like it's not. I think Vivek is performing well.
Awesome.
There've been interesting moments, but ultimately the question remains: how will anyone stand up if they were to debate Trump?
They won't.
It shows the two legitimate candidates is DeSantis and Ramaswamy, and then the other two are like war hawks that are just kind of on the trail because of big money.
Yeah,
100%. That's absolutely it. And honestly, like I was saying earlier, is like on that stage, like Vivek's the guy. He's the guy, absolutely, for like normal folks.
I think he has the charisma. I mean, I think there are questions about his policies in some respects, but I think he always has been the most charismatic person in all of these debate performances. Again, he does have the occasional thing. He said something like, I have a longer future than Donald Trump. He has sparred with Donald Trump very indirectly.
Sure.
And again, I wonder what that would look like if they were up against each other.
It's more anecdotal, but he's humble in the sense that he was willing to come in and do this interview when Tim was out of town. So I interviewed, Hannah Claire interviewed him with Seamus Coughlin.
And hold on, it's worse than that. We had a miscommunication here about who was contacting his team to let him know that I was at a doctor's appointment, not going to be in town, and so they found out really late. And Vivek was super cool. He's like, no, don't worry about it. I get it, man. These things happen.
Indication to me, he will listen to his advisors. Like that's a huge important thing for a leader.
Absolutely. But also the fact that like he'll go talk anywhere. He'll go like obviously this is a huge show.
Here we go. We're back.
Huge show, but it's like he goes on all the podcasts. It's great.
On the southern
Nikki
border.
does not.
Polls show immigration and the crisis are among the most pressing issues for Republican voters right now. Both
Just
the issue of
immigration
migrants
crisis.
crossing illegally into our country and the separate issue of fentanyl being smuggled in mostly through legal ports of entry. All year, News Nation has been at the border documenting the crisis. In 2023 alone,
Bonkers.
Border Patrol encountered a record
Bad shit. I
hear News Nation does a pretty good job.
million migrants.
Yeah.
They've got some good
All
stuff.
4 of you have talked tough.
Cuomo
the
redemption
question
arc.
now is how realistic is the talk? So, Governor DeSantis, I'd like to start with you. You have pledged to send the military to the southern border on day one of your administration with orders to shoot, quote, stone cold dead.
He does, dude.
Anyone illegally entering with a backpack that you believe contains fentanyl. Critics have called this a shoot first, ask questions later policy that would amount to extrajudicial killing. You are a former military lawyer. Why do you think this idea of yours would be legal?
The drug cartels are invading our country, and they are killing our citizens by the tens of thousands every year. We had a situation in Florida. There was an 18-month-old baby that was crawling on the floor of an Airbnb rental. There was fentanyl residue on the carpet, and the baby died. Is this acceptable in this country? I know the elites in D.C., they don't care. They don't care that fentanyl's ravaging your community. They don't care that illegal aliens are ravaging our community and overwhelming our community. The commander-in-chief not only has a right you have a responsibility to fight back against these people.
And does that mean shooting first?
It means you're going to categorize them as foreign terrorist organizations, and we will identify just like we would anywhere. When I was in Iraq, the Al Qaeda wasn't wearing a uniform. You'd see anyone walking down the street, they all had man dresses on. You didn't know if someone had a bomb, an IED attached or not. And so you had to make a judgment based on intelligence, based on positive identification. But we're going to be able to get the intelligence on these cartel people. And here's the thing. If we had a wall across the southern border, which I support, this would not have happened. We need to build a wall across the southern border. I'll get it done, and Mexico is supposed to pay for it. Remember, here's how you do that. I'm going to have fees on remittances from foreign workers when they send the money back to foreign countries. We're going to tax it, and we're going to build a wall with that. So yes, you should have had that, but we don't have it. I'm going to build it, but we have to lean in on this problem. I am not going to sit there and allow mothers to lose more kids because of fentanyl overdose. I am not going to sit there and let sex trafficking go unabated or human trafficking go unabated. There's going to be a new sheriff in town, and these drug cartels better buckle up.
Nothing disagreeable there.
Ambassador Haley, you have pledged to catch and deport all migrants who are here in this country illegally. Then you said in Londonderry, New Hampshire last month that you will not deport those who are working and paying taxes rather than feeding off the system.
She knows.
Which is it?
So first of all, what I said is all of the 7 or 8 million illegals that have come under Biden's watch absolutely have to go back. We have to stop the incentive of what's bringing them over here in the first place. Biden just gave temporary protective status to 500,000 Venezuelans. That's 500,000 Social Security cards. That's 500,000 driver's licenses. And I know from my time at the United Nations, the first thing they do is pick up the phone and said, we came over, come on over. And that's what sends more. You have to go and deport these people so they know it can't happen again. For those that have been here longer than that, we've got to start seeing who is
calling out
it,
Nikki.
how long have they been here, have they been vetted, have
Japan,
they
by
paid
the
taxes, have they been working, and figure out who else is out there. But what I know is my parents came here legally.
He was in Japan.
They put in the time, they put in the price. They are offended by those that are coming illegally. We can't let them skip the line. But when you talk about fentanyl like you did before, let's look at something else. Yes, I think we should send special operations over and take out the cartels. I think we should do a remain in Mexico policy so they never step foot in U.S. soil in the first place. But look at where fentanyl came from. Let's go to the heart of the matter. It came from China. That's why we need to end all normal trade relations with China until they stop murdering Americans with fentanyl. I promise you, they need our economy. They will immediately stop that. But this is where Trump went wrong. Trump was good on trade, but that's all he was with China. Because here he allowed fentanyl to continue to come over. He continued to allow them to he would give them technology that would build up their military and hurt us. He allowed the Chinese infiltration for them to buy up farmland, to put money in our universities, and to continue to do things that were harmful for America. We now have a spy base in Cuba and police stations, and Trump didn't do anything about it.
Her China, though, I mean, listen, this is rich, because when she was governor of South Carolina, she was the #1 ranked governor of bringing the CCP into her state. She wrote a love letter to the Chinese ambassador saying how great a friend China is. You can look at it. We put it on our website, rondesantis.com. There's also a video of her as governor standing in front of a Chinese flag with a Chinese business saying that she now works for them, talking about this Chinese company. So she's been very weak on China. Now, here's the problem. The rhetoric is different, but her donors, these Wall Street liberal donors, they make money in China. They are not going to let her be tough on China, and she will cave to the donors. She will not stand up for you.
15
I think Ron's not wrong.
I think Ron's actually doing really well.
Yeah, he is.
First of all, he's mad because those Wall Street donors used to support him, and now they support me. The second thing is,
still ahead of you.
he almost said a Chinese company, you guess, that he just did a rally there last year. They have given you $340,000 in campaign donations between them and their employees.
He went to lead, and then he stopped himself.
Tied to the Communist Party. Jinko Solar is another one. They went and expanded. You gave $2 million in subsidies.
I banned China from buying land in the state of Florida.
The Department of Homeland
I ejected the Confucius Institute. Nikki Haley brought Confucius Institutes to the universities in South Carolina.
That is not
I
true.
ejected them. So I have a record of standing up and do what's right. And here's the thing.
You have a record of lying.
She's trying to say things like that. Even the liberal media groups that usually if I say the sky is blue, they'll fact check me and say that's wrong. They looked at her charges. They said it was totally false, that they could not find one instance of me recruiting a Chinese business coming to Florida. You know why? Because we never recruited any Chinese businesses to the state of Florida.
Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy, over the past year, fentanyl has killed more than 75,000 Americans, 1,000 of them right here in Alabama. You have vowed to use the military to, quote, annihilate drug labs inside Mexico, something the president of Mexico said would be a hostile act. But fentanyl can easily be made anywhere, and labs that are shut down can easily and quickly be replaced. Are your tough enforcement policies offering false hope to a country racked by addiction?
To the contrary, I don't think it's going to have to come to that if we deal with the actual demand side problem that we also have in this country.
Mike.
I mean, the easy part is talking about how we're going to use our military to secure the border. I will, and I believe that everybody else wants to do the same thing. But the harder part is dealing with the crisis of purpose and meaning, the mental health epidemic raging across this country like wildfire. And there's a reason why after the opioid crisis, you see fentanyl. And even after we get fentanyl, and we are going to be sure to make sure we do it, this one is worse for many reasons. They're illegally lacing it into pharmaceuticals, so it's more dangerous. But we're deluding ourselves. The real false promise here is thinking that we're going to have dealt with that underlying mental health epidemic in this country by just dealing with the demand side of it. But I want to get back to this issue of the root cause, because a lot of these are coming from labs in Wuhan, China, of all places. Drug materials that are going to the Mexican drug cartels that they're pumping across that southern border like a modern opium war. I think it is going to take a U.S. president that's going to have a very different conversation with Xi Jinping than what Joe Biden just had
I'm glad he's
in California.
Yep.
I will tell Xi
Biden was
Jinping, you will
basically
not
like,
only not
"Please
buy
stop."
land in this
And they were
country
like, "We'll think
or
about
donate
it."
to universities in this country.
It was a really
U.S.
good
businesses won't
conversation.
expand
Right.
into the Chinese market until they're playing by the same set of rules. And the same country that's putting fentanyl into illegal pharmaceuticals in Mexico, it's no coincidence, is the exact same country that also unleashed hell on the world with the COVID-19 pandemic. We also have to hold them accountable with every financial lever that we have available. That is what it actually means to stand with a spine. And you mark my words, if we're willing to stand with the spine, China will absolutely have to fold because they're in a tougher spot than we are. And then we're back to playing by the same set of rules.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. Thank you. Let's talk about the economy. Ambassador Haley.
Chris Christie's just not
Homeownership
here.
has always been part of the American dream, but
He's
it's
gonna whine about it
increasingly
later,
out
don't
of
worry.
reach for younger Americans. This year, mortgage rates reached 30-year highs. Home prices have risen $190,000 over the past decade. Is this the free market at work?
No.
Or should the federal government do something to make homes more affordable?
What?
Well, first of all,
Same
you're exactly
statement.
right. My daughter just got married, and I saw how hard it was for her and her husband to buy a home. Right now, the average homeowner in America is 49 years old. You've got young people everywhere. That used to be the American dream, and now it's out of reach. But you look at what happened. You first of all look at what the Fed did. The Fed did a terrible job when they allowed all of that money to go through. You saw the Treasury bond rates go up. That affected mortgage rates, that affected automobile rates, that affected insurance rates. And so now we have a high interest rate. You've got a supply issue. Ask any builder. The supply issues have continued to be there. That's caused the rate to go up. And then you've got insurances that have gone up. And so what you have is a lot of younger people who, one, can't afford a home, but two, the banks aren't lending them any money. They've made the regulations so hard that they don't want to give loans on mortgages anymore. So what we have to do is we have to open it up. We have to, one, grow our economy so that people have more money in their pockets. We've got to look at the supply chain and make sure that we are funneling that so that builders don't have to sit there and go overseas to find things. And then we need to make sure that we really stop paying down this debt, make sure that we stop the borrowing, stop the spending. I'll veto any spending bill that doesn't take us back to pre-COVID levels, because our kids are not going to forgive us for all the spending that happened. And as much as everybody wants to talk about how Donald Trump had a good economy, $9 trillion in debt, he did just in 4 years. And we're all paying the price of that, including those mortgage prices.
Yeah, but a lot of that was
We're going
COVID.
to come back
Exactly,
to
that's what I mean.
President
There's
Trump,
extraordinary
I promise.
circumstances.
A lot of spending. He did spend
Governor
a lot.
DeSantis The latest News
literally
Nation
extraordinary
Decision Desk
circumstances.
poll found that inflation tops the worries of American voters. 61% say they're very
Can they just
concerned,
skip
and the
Christie?
working class is hardest
Christie's just
hit.
not here.
They're giving DeSantis a
Economists say
second
this is
question
so
rather
mad.
than
a
Christie.
glut of federal spending.
He's like moderating.
The Biden administration
though.
has added $6 trillion to the
should have
national
dropped out
debt
a
so
long
far.
time ago.
But President
He should've
Trump
just literally
wasn't exactly a
moderated.
penny pincher.
Why not?
His
Money to be
administration
made, though,
added $7.8 trillion. Do Republicans, including President Trump, share the blame for inflation? And what concrete steps would a President
They do.
DeSantis take to help Americans make ends meet?
But it's not shared
Borrowing,
equally.
printing, and spending of money was both parties in Washington, D.C. That's just a fact. These Republicans in Washington have spent. It's driven your prices higher, and it's driven your interest rates to the point where you can't afford. I met a young fella in Iowa. He had graduated college a couple years ago, and he's like, Governor, I don't have a chance. I'm gainfully employed. He's like, I have no chance to afford a home and start a family. That is taking the American dream away from people. So we're going to get the inflation down. We're going to get the interest rates down. We are going to reduce spending, and I will be willing to veto, and I vetoed a lot as governor of Florida, and we'll do that. We're also going to open up all of our domestic energy for production. Lower your gas prices, lower the price of fuel. That's going to help the economy. It also help jobs, and we'll do it. But, you know, another thing that's burdening young people are these student loans. Now, I don't support having a truck driver having to pay a student loan for someone that got a degree in gender studies.
Yep.
That is wrong.
Hear, hear.
We should not have taxpayers do that.
And Biden's
what
doing that
I'm
right
going to
now.
do, though,
Right.
is I'm going to get to the root cause of the problem. These student loans are going to be backed by the universities because they need to have an incentive to produce
love it.
gainful
Seize the
employment for
endowments.
people. They should not be indulging in
sense.
ideological studies. They should be focusing on things that work. And we're going to take some of this money and we're going to move it to actual vocational training. In Florida, we doubled apprenticeships. We have more truck drivers. These are in-demand skills. Don't let anybody tell you that the only way you can be successful is through a 4-year brick and ivy degree. That's one way you can be. It's not the only way. And we're going to fix that problem in the United States of America.
Christy, gonna get a
Ramaswamy,
question? Oh, no,
you've
no questions for
praised
Christy.
cryptocurrency like Bitcoin as an opt-out from our, quote, broken financial architecture, and you oppose efforts to regulate it.
Waiting for Christy
Head
to
of the
break in and be
largest
like, hey guys,
international
I'm still
crypto
here.
exchange
No, he's just
just
gonna leave
pleaded
suddenly.
guilty
Yeah, it'd be
to
great.
allowing
He, like,
its
it cuts
platform
back
to
and he's
launder
gone.
money for terrorists, including
remind us of the
Hamas.
time.
Guys, I'm
You
still
say
here.
your
Oh, here they're
cryptocurrency
targeting
plan will,
Bitcoin
quote,
now.
ensure
Okay.
economic freedom for Americans, end quote. Won't it also ensure economic
Starting to wish
freedom
I
for
hodled.
fraudsters, criminals, and
did not-
terrorists?
I did not.
It won't. Good question.
Fraudsters,
though.
criminals, and terrorists have been defrauding people for a long time. Our regulations need to catch up with the current moment. The fact that SBF was able to do what he did at FTX shows that whatever they have as the current framework isn't working. And I think it is nothing short of embarrassing that Gary Gensler, the current leader of the SEC, in front of Congress, could not even say whether Ethereum counted as a regulated security or not.
Well, too
and so
nerdy.
I think that this is just another example of the administrative state gone too far. Here's the dirty little secret in American politics today. The people who we elect to run the government are not the ones who are even actually
What are they not doing? Tell me.
that are writing regulations that Congress never gave them the authority to write. And the good news is a U.S. president can absolutely fix that. That takes a U.S. president with a spine. So what I've said is in my administration, by the end of year one, we will have a 75% reduction in the number of federal bureaucrats. We will shut down government agencies that
I
should
am
not
okay with
exist.
this.
We will rescind any regulation that fails the test of West Virginia versus EPA, which is the most important Supreme Court case of our lifetime, that said if Congress didn't delegate that to an administrative agency, then it's unconstitutional.
Woo!
These are seismic changes.
I don't know much about that. I'd like to
These
learn
are
more
big
about that.
changes that the next
It's a good
president
case.
can deliver without asking Congress for permission or for forgiveness. And I want people to understand that distinction, because people have been sold myths by politicians for a long time saying, I'm going to work with Congress to do this or that. Much of what you've heard on the stage from the other politicians fit that description. They need Congress. The things that I'm promising you, this is what the leader of the executive branch gets to do under Article 2 of the Constitution.
Thank you, sir.
Cut down the bureaucracy.
Well,
That's how we
thank you,
grow
sir.
our economy.
Cutting the federal
And put
government like
Federal
that is
Reserve in its place
tumultuous
as part of the
and
crypto
No, no,
difficult,
no,
but
90%
Mr.
headcount
worthwhile.
reduction at the Fed.
You're out of
It'll
time.
be painful.
15
They're
seconds,
gonna target
Governor
him for it.
So
DeSantis.
It'll be
one of
painful,
the
but
dangers
needs
that
to
we're
happen.
going to face, Biden wants, is a central bank digital currency. They want to get rid of cash, crypto. They want to force you to do that. They'll take away your privacy. They will absolutely regulate your purchases. On day one as president, we take the idea idea of central bank digital currency, and we throw it in the trash can. It'll be dead on
I want to
arrival.
know if anybody is live timing how much time
Get
they're
ready to
getting.
have a whole second hour to get to. It's exciting. And when we come back, we got a
There's
big
a
subject.
second hour of
Huge.
this?
Yeah, Ron's best debate so far, to be honest. He's a little nerdy. He's a little nerdy.
That's fine.
And what I mean by that is good facts.
Yeah.
But not being presented really well. Like I'm talking like high school level. Like he's not. It's the charisma thing. But yeah, I think he's doing pretty well. And Vivek, of course, is always doing really.
You were
really
right
well
that he was a little too nerdy when he started talking about Ethereum, and that Gary Gensler couldn't identify if it was a security or not. And
Sure.
that basically means is it
means.
going to be used as cash or is it going to be used as a commodity?
Right.
Even the word commodity is a little nerdy.
Sure.
For your average.
Let's
human.
We'll grab some super chats during the commercials. We got MF Damien says Ron makes some decent points, but sounds too rehearsed and inauthentic when he speaks. King Vivek all day. Yeah,
Concur.
That like I feel like Ron's actually doing really well.
Yeah,
but he's got the head bob going on.
He needs a smile once in a while, but like a
one
real
time he
smile,
did.
not the whole like.
The Gavin Newsom smiling
right.
was
You know
like
what I
too
mean?
weird. I don't know.
Yeah, he got called out because his smiles are inauthentic.
I won't
It's
let
just
you
not
down.
him.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
it's
he
weird.
looks sad when he smiles.
And honestly, you made a great point there when you're talking about like the Gavin Newsom, bring that up. Like, look, when everyone says, "Oh, Gavin Newsom," like I think Terry was here last night to saying like, "Oh, I'm not that worried about Gavin Newsom." Like, I'm worried as hell about Gavin Newsom.
This is a good one right here from Nick Williams.
Yeah, please.
Vivek missed an opportunity to highlight that Haley isn't stupid. She just doesn't care about Ukraine. The only thing Nikki is worried about is Lockheed and Raytheon's stock price.
Yeah, he didn't insult her intelligence like Chris Christie said. He pointed out that she didn't have the information. That she was ignorant.
Yeah, but tomorrow
and
the
different and
headline's going to
stupid.
be Chris Christie defends Nikki Haley from Vivek, who becomes too aggressive on stage.
Attacks women, hates
Right.
women.
And so
Yeah.
in some ways, like the fact that he left it ambiguous and didn't correct it at all. I mean, he was on a roll. He had good energy in that moment,
Sure.
so there's a reason
I-
to. But it will give Chris Christie this moment, and it also makes Nikki Haley look like a submissive woman, which will turn feminists off from her.
If there's any, Vivek staff members listening, I hope they hear this. Technically, I hope they don't, but just, you got to say, Nikki Hillary over here. I'm sorry, I mean Haley.
No, he did have that Hillary Clinton
No,
comparison
but call
before.
her Nikki Hillary.
Yeah, that's
Excuse me.
true.
Yeah, and fake,
They're like
correct himself.
texting him right now. Like,
Yeah.
please, please.
Nikki Hillary.
No, but when he compared her to Hillary Clinton, like that's a very serious indictment, right?
Yeah.
Women in
Yeah.
politics, either side, being compared to Hillary Clinton is not a good thing, right? Because if you're a Democrat, she failed repeatedly, and if you're a Republican, it's Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, but look, Hillary Clinton could be running on the give you $1 million party and people would still hate her. Yeah. Like it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat policy wise. She is an awful human that people despise.
America's ex-wife.
When when Nikki Haley came out and said that she wanted to track people that use social media and get their identification and make everyone that I think indicates low intelligence. Like that I can argue is a low intelligence claim because she hasn't thought ahead into what kind of corruption
or at the very least authoritarian.
I
At
feel
the
like
very
it's
least
authoritarian more
authoritarianism.
than anything
Let me grab this one from That One Gamer. He says, I was born in November 2002, and people my age were signing up to fight in this war that has been around longer than myself. We're not doing that again. Politicians can suck it.
Thank you.
Dude,
I hear you, brother.
21 years old. Okay,
Yeah.
you're 20. You've voted in several election cycles already, and you were born after. But let's even talk about someone born in 1997. Okay,
Right.
You're 4 or 5 years old. You don't remember any of this. So when Chris Christie's like, I was the Attorney General during 9/11, it's like, yo,
That doesn't mean anything.
it might mean something to people who are in their like mid 30s and
Sure,
up,
maybe,
but to everybody
maybe.
else, they're like, I don't. Care.
I think I was in kindergarten, and I grew up in Connecticut, right? So I had friends whose parents commuted into New York. Like I remember not going to school that day the towers fell, but like.
Right.
All of it is stuff that I grew up hearing, but it's not. It was news I had to
people
learn.
who
as
have
I got older.
teenagers, right, who are like coming up military age. It's like, and like
Do you
for
want them
example,
to go? Yeah.
right. Like my little brother he's still active duty. He's still out there. I got a lot of friends. I got a friend here's active duty, and I know a lot of folks who are like younger than me. Like, and it's like I don't really want you to
The
go there.
fall of
Please.
the Berlin Wall. That's how I would think about it. 89.
Yeah, 89.
I was 3.
I saw it on TV.
I was 3 years old. Actually, I was about to turn 4, and I only have vague memories of references to it.
Right.
I'm 3. I don't remember anything at all other than
It's not relevant.
people mentioning it as I was
Sure.
a kid that it happened.
Sure.
Dude's
and I'm
taking
like, huh.
sledgehammers.
Can
to
I
the
say
wall.
something as well? When what Vivek said, he talks about like cutting like 75% of like the federal government. is, look, it's something that like a lot of people, especially people who, live in the Beltway other, it's like bonkers, like, oh my God, you can't do it, right? It's terrible. It's crazy. Here we go. But I gotta say, it'll be painful. It'll be tumultuous, but if it happens, we'll get through it.
So for most of you, on the front runner in this
Second
race,
hour.
Donald Trump.
They got to talk about GDP if they're going to
2 hours of this crap?
As you know, but
Holy
we'd
crap.
like to ask you a couple questions about him now.
I think she's wearing a great
Ambassador
color. I
Haley.
just have to say
She
it.
looks great.
Former President
She
Trump
looks
recently
fantastic.
promised if he's reelected to bring back and expand
She
his
shouldn't have
program
worn white. She
restricting
looks too washed
immigration
out.
from Muslim countries.
Did Trump
Here he is in
actually say
Iowa
Muslim countries?
on October 16th.
Okay, let's listen. Okay.
No longer will we allow dangerous lunatics, haters, bigots, and maniacs to get residency in our country. We're not going to let them stay here. If you empathize with radical Islamic terrorists and extremists, you're disqualified. You're just disqualified.
That seems reasonable.
He didn't say Muslims.
Ambassador Haley, do you
Yeah, he did.
support President Trump's plan for ideological screening?
Oh, come
I don't
on.
think that
that's
you have
unreal.
a straight-up Muslim ban as much as you look at the countries that have terrorist activity that want to
Oh,
hurt
come
Americans.
on.
You
This is
do.
what he's
You
They're gonna
can't
email
ban
Megyn
those
Kelly and be
people
like,
from
what was
those
that?
countries. That's
Right.
the way we should look at it, is which countries are a threat to us. You look at what came across the southern border. What worries me the most are those that came from Iran, from Yemen, from Lebanon. Those areas where they say death to America. That's where
Trump-
you want to
Iran,
be.
yes,
every
careful.
chance
It's not about a
let me just.
religion.
Okay,
It's about a fact
sure.
that certain
Trump
countries
should
are dangerous
ban
in our
terrorists.
borders.
If someone is coming to this country and we find out that they support terrorist and radical ideologies, you're disqualified.
It's not a
He's
big
correct.
ask. It's not crazy.
And the false framing by Megyn Kelly and now Nikki Haley is reprehensible.
And what we're doing
Right.
about it. And the biggest threat we have right now is communist China. But you have to also look at what Iran and Russia are doing as well. And we need to be paying attention to that. That's why we have to focus on things like cyber, on space, on artificial intelligence, and not just the regular things that we've always focused on.
It's not just terrorism, though. That's important. But look what's happened in Europe. You have more anti-Semitism in Germany than at any time since Adolf Hitler. Why? Because they imported mass numbers of people who reject their culture. Europe is committing suicide with the mass migration, and it's illegal and legal. Nikki Haley said the other day there should be no limits on legal immigration, and that corporate CEOs should set the
That's
policy
not
on
true.
that. There
Quit
needs to be
lying.
limits on immigration,
Quit lying.
and we should not be importing people from cultures that are hostile. So, for example, I said with the Gaza, you had some of the squad wanted to import 300,000 people from the Gaza Strip. I said, no, we're not taking anyone from Gaza because of the anti-Semitism and because they reject American culture. So we've got to get smart about this. We cannot let the United States be like Europe.
So
Governor
there's
Christie.
a low-hanging fruit here,
Governor
if I may just hit this point, because it relates to what they just said. There are things that the government can do
Christie
right now
didn't
that
get any
nobody's
questions
talking
in the
about
last
among the
segment.
professional politicians in this race.
He should
I
also
don't think he's gotten any questions. I think he's gotten like one or two questions for an hour.
Here's the answer.
He should elbow
There's
his way in if he were serious.
287G in the law. That is a provision that already allows ICE agents to deputize or allow local law enforcement to enforce those ICE warrants.
There we
and
go.
it shocks me that nobody in the Republican Party is talking about it, because there are 1 million then officials, law enforcement officials in this country. And against that backdrop, we absolutely have the ability to deport anybody who's in this country illegally.
Thank you,
we need to
Mr.
be talking about
Ramaswamy.
it.
Would Biden's border control allow
I
that?
actually did that as governor in South Carolina.
Governor
Chris Christie talks
asked
about
last
the
night
debate.
in Iowa
Here we go, here we
whether
go.
he would
Here
be
we
a
go.
dictator if he wins
point,
a
Ian.
second term in office.
man.
Donald
He's
Trump
smiling.
quipped no, quote, except for day one, promising
Which
to
is great.
seal
Yeah.
the southern border. He has also pledged to begin the largest deportation operation in American history, saying that migrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country.
No, illegal immigrants
He
are.
has pledged to
God,
round
these
up
people
and
are
expel an
despicable.
estimated
Yeah, they're bad.
11 million undocumented
use
immigrants
Yes,
in the United
undocumented.
States. What do you make of that plan?
I think it's completely predictable. I mean, look, he's made it very clear. There's no mystery to what he wants to do. He started off his campaign by saying, I am your retribution.
I
8
like
years
that.
ago,
Okay with
he
that.
said, I am your
I
voice.
think he doesn't get that Americans like
is an
Trump.
angry
He
young
hasn't
man
understood the poll margin.
who
yet.
now wants to be back as president.
he's
because
winning the
he
primary.
wants
I'm like,
to exact
what?
retribution on anyone who has disagreed with him, anyone.
Chris
who
Christie's a
called to
Democrat.
account for
He's
his
on
own
stage
conduct.
being like, I represent
And every one of these
non-Republicans.
policies that he's talking about are about.
Take a look at what Will
speak
Chamberlain
for
just tweeted a minute
and yet,
ago.
Something good.
At the first debate,
Just basically
my
just
three
like-
colleagues on this stage, when asked if he
Pretty
would be
good.
convicted of federal felonies,
meme he posted
would
3
they
minutes
still
ago.
support him raised their hand, looked into the camera, and let everybody know that they would still support him, even if convicted of federal felonies. Federal felonies,
with the majority of
federal
Americans
felonies,
also
which involve our election
Nikki Haley
process.
sucks. Yeah,
Federal
everyone disagrees. Nikki Haley
felonies, which
sucks.
involve the most sensitive of our governmental secrets. Federal felonies where he instructed others to commit crimes. Folks who are now agreeing to go to jail because of what they did in his name. So do I think he was kidding when he said he was a dictator? All you have to do is look at the history. And that's why failing to speak out against him, making excuses for him, pretending that somehow he's a victim, empowers him. You want to know why those poll numbers are where they are? Because folks like these three guys on the stage make it seem like his conduct is acceptable. Let me make it clear.
Does he not get that the majority of Republican voters like Trump?
What's he trying to make clear?
His conduct is unacceptable. He's
so
unfit. And be careful of what you're going to get. If you ever got another Donald Trump term, he's letting you know, I am your retribution.
That's a good thing.
Thank you. He will only be his own retribution. He doesn't care for the American
people. I don't care either.
Okay, a Monmouth poll has him at 58%.
Governor DeSantis.
And then after him is DeSantis at 18%.
Thank you. Governor DeSantis. Donald Trump would be older on day one of his second presidency than Joe Biden was on day one of his first.
Wow. Joe Biden would be 100.
Trump is not the same man he was when he ran in 2016. Your campaign is running ads showing Trump confused. And you have said he has, quote, lost the zip on his fastball. You seem to be saying Donald Trump is no longer mentally fit to be president. Is that what you think?
Look, he is showing, Father Time is undefeated. The idea that we're going to put someone up there that's almost 80 and there's going to be no effects from that, we all know that that's not true. And so we have an opportunity to do a next generation of leaders and really be able to move this country forward. We also need a president that can serve 2 terms. I don't think Donald Trump, I think he's going to have, I don't think he'd be able to get elected. The Democrats want him to be the nominee. We see that. They are going to turn the screws the minute, if he got the nomination,
but do you think he's
you're going to see it.
Fit to be president?
I think we need to have somebody younger. I think when you get up to 80, I don't think it's a job for that. But let me just respond to some of the things there. Look,
okay, well, then it would be
the media is making a big deal about what he said about some of these comments. I would just remind people, that is not how he governed. He didn't even fire Dr. Fauci. He didn't fire Christopher Wray. He didn't clean up the swamp. He said he was going to drain it. He did not drain it. He said he was going to build a wall and have Mexico pay for it. We don't have the wall. He did say in 2016 he'd have the largest deportation program in history. He deported less than Barack Obama did when Barack Obama was president. So some of these policies he ran on in 16, I was cheering him on then, but he didn't deliver it. Here's what I can promise people. 100% of the things I promised as governor, I delivered on those promises. I beat the left time and time again, and that's what I'll do for you as president. We got to start winning again as a party. Yes, win the election, but we've got to start getting these issues. I will go in and wreak havoc on this bureaucracy. You will see people fired, and we are going to bring a reckoning for how this government handled COVID-19.
I'm bringing a reckoning.
Here's Vivek.
Chris, you had your chance to wax eloquent on Donald Trump. You've been doing it all this whole race.
Why doesn't he just answer the question? The question was very direct. Is he fit to be president or isn't he?
So
the rest of the speech is interesting, but
Chris is a Democrat up there to destroy the other candidates.
He's ruining the debate itself by talking about the debate.
He's just auditioning to moderate the next debate.
No, they would.
No, they wouldn't.
They would
Chris.
strike the answer because you're not answering it.
Is he fit? You have your thing.
Is he fit or isn't he? No, I don't have my thing. He's the thing. Is he fit or isn't he? You're talking about him being 80 years old.
It doesn't mean that somebody couldn't get elected. That's up to the people.
Governor DeSantis, let him
They zoomed in on Ron's face. Did you see that? It was intensifying.
We have an opportunity to do somebody who
the party
time in their life. You don't have to worry about.
Thank you for lowering the volume.
The party likes Donald Trump. Donald Trump is winning, and Chris Christie is attacking Donald Trump on stage.
Yeah.
Where Ron DeSantis is even trying to avoid going too heavy.
On a test, but I know this.
He wants to be
we have
Attorney
an
General.
opportunity to nominate someone and elect someone for 2 terms who's going to be spitting nails on day one and for 8 years delivering
even though Trump was running.
Chris Christie is running for a cabinet position under a Democrat.
Who's almost 80 years old.
Okay. He's afraid to answer.
No, I'm not.
You have to either you're afraid or you're not listening.
All you got to say is like,
shut up.
Is he fit?
Nobody can hear this.
Vendetta against Trump. That was a good one.
You finish.
Girls.
All right. Look.
Ladies, please.
I'm a simple guy.
Right.
Okay?
I'd be like, hey, Lordo.
And I answer.
Calm down.
Is he
I'd be
fit
nasty
or
in
isn't
that
he?
situation.
I'll
just wanna
concede
hear him start breathing
you're
heavy.
fit, Ron. You're a new generation. You're 44 years old. I wish I was still 44 years old. Okay?
45.
So, well, congratulations. I'd still take 45. Is he fit or isn't he? And this is
Yes, he is.
the problem
Next question.
with my three colleagues. They're afraid
Like he's
to
just
offend.
divorcing
And
himself
I'll tell you
from
something.
everyone
If you're
else.
afraid,
Hold on, Mr.
if
Ramaswamy.
you're afraid to offend Donald Trump, then what are you going to do when you sit across from President Xi, you sit across from the
not an
Ayatollah,
argument, bro.
you sit across from Putin? You have to be willing to offend with the truth. And
Homie,
answer
it's
the
not
question.
Trump.
Fit or
It's
unfit?
that is a base
Fit or
person.
unfit?
I promised Ron DeSantis a minute and not a full minute.
I've got
a second.
It's not about
Weigh
Ayatollah.
in and then we're moving
It's
on.
about
Has to
pointing
put Iran
out,
there.
do you want to elect somebody who will be older than Biden was when he went in 2021?
Just a yes.
I don't think he's as bad as Biden was at all, but I do think
Oh,
that
this is so
over a
stupid.
4-year
I just
period,
can't stand
it
these
is
people.
not
It's
a
also
job
tiresome
for somebody
sometimes.
that's pushing 80. We need somebody that's younger. We need somebody that's going to be able to go in there.
Donald Trump is fit to be president. I kind of think I can run 2 terms. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Right.
That's all you say, Ron.
Other colleagues on this debate stage is all three of them have been licking Donald Trump's boots for years for money and endorsements. Ron DeSantis, you've been a great governor, but you would have never been one without actually picking
Yeah, but I don't think that's the point he's making.
And you attacked
Same
him
thing
in
for
your
Nikki
book.
He's talking about the
Haley.
hypocrisy.
Same thing with Chris Christie as a lobbyist, begging them for COVID money for his special interests in New Jersey, prepping him for the debates last time around. These people are now Monday morning quarterbacking some decision he made. I think the real enemy is not Donald Trump. It's not even Joe Biden. It is the deep state that at least Donald Trump attempted to take on. And if you want somebody who's going to speak truth to power, then vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. Why am I the only person on the stage, at least, who can say that January 6th now does look like it was an inside job?
Whoa!
Change the subject. Here we go.
20
There we
years
go.
about Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11. That the great replacement theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory, but a basic statement of the Democratic Party's platform. That the 2020 election was indeed stolen by big tech. That the 2016 election, the one that Trump won for sure, was also one that was stolen from him by the national security establishment that actually put up the Trump-Russia collusion.
Oh, now they want to cut him off.
There's a reason why I'm the only person
That'll
on
do
the
it,
stage
sir.
who can
Thank
say
you.
these things. That's what it's going to take, not people who are licking his boots one time and now Monday morning quarterbacking and
Okay,
criticizing
but he
when it's
also
convenient.
sucks up to the Trump
Governor
voter.
Christie.
That's not his point, though. He's pointing out.
Yep.
They were sucking it.
irrelevant. He still-
no.
he still does.
Favor a ban
They're kissing
on
his boots,
trans
but now
medical
turning on
treatments
him,
for minors,
trying to steal, and
saying
Vivek's
it's
standing out of
parental
it.
rights issue.
Vivek's going to turn against him too.
The
as soon as he
surgeries
can.
done on minors involve cutting off body parts at a time when these kids cannot even legally smoke a cigarette. Kids who go from puberty blockers to cross-sex hormones are at a much greater likelihood of winding up sterile. How is it that you think a parent should be able to okay these
How is this a
surgeries,
debate?
never mind the
Like, it just
sterilization of a
went.
child? And aren't you way too out of step on this issue to be the Republican nominee?
No, I'm not. Because Republicans
She's like,
believe
"Please
in
leave."
less government, not more.
No.
In less involvement with government, not more in government involvement in people's lives. And you know what, Megan? I trust parents.
Oh,
No,
man.
dude, bro,
We
no.
should empower parents in education. We should empower parents to make more decisions about where their kids go to school. I agree. We should empower parents to be teaching the values that they believe in their homes without the government telling them what those values should be. And yet we want to take other parental rights away. I'm sorry. As a father of 4, I believe there is no one who loves my children more than me.
And if they
There's
want
no
to cut
one
his
who
penis
loves
off,
my children more than my wife. There's no one who cares more about their success and health in life than we do. Not some government bureaucrat, you look at these jokers down in Congress. It takes them 3 weeks to pick a speaker, and up until 2 days ago, they couldn't promote somebody in the military in the United States Senate who
Shout out to
earned their
Tuberville.
new rank. And we're going to put my children's health and my decisions in their hands for them to make those decisions, for Joe Biden to make those decisions.
Bro, they're just saying don't
for
give kids
me,
sex
for my
changes. They're
wife.
not saying anything
Let me
else.
just say this.
Yeah, that's like,
this is
what?
not something
No,
I favor.
bro. It's like
weird
I
filibustering.
think it's a
He's got to
very,
filibuster so he can get
very
FaceTime on
dangerous
camera.
thing.
Some
Yeah,
FaceTime.
but that's
But
not
That's
the way
my
to do it.
opinion
I
as
get
a
you.
parent,
I get what you're
Megan.
saying,
And I get to make the decisions about my children, not anybody else. And every parent out there who's watching tonight, you start to turn over just a little bit of this authority, the authority they're going to take from you next, you're not going to like.
You think he
I'll
beats
stand
his
up
kids?
for parents each and every time.
I don't want the government stepping in when I got my belt out.
No, he's got a sack of sweet Valencia oranges.
You guys are going to get to weigh in.
Yeah, no bruises,
Here's my
man.
follow-up
No, my
question.
kid wants his
You
hand
talk
cut
about
off.
parental
He
rights.
thinks he
Let's
should
talk
be an
about them.
amputee.
When you were governor in
Like, I mean,
2017,
what?
you signed a law that required
Here we
new
go.
guidelines for schools dealing with transgender students. Those guidelines required schools to accept a child's preferred gender identity even if the minor's parents objected.
Whoa!
And it said that there is no duty for schools to notify
Bravo,
parents
Megyn Kelly.
if their son or daughter changes their gender identity, allowing this serious issue to
simply not
remain
true.
a secret between the school and a child.
is true.
How is any of that pro-parental
by the
rights?
way, that's simply
Oh,
not true.
Megyn
You're doing what you
Kelly.
accuse me of, Chris. It is absolutely
That's
true.
simply not true. That's simply not true. That law was put into effect in 2018 and regulated in 2018 after I was
you
out of
mandated
office,
the guidelines.
Megyn. No, we did not, Megyn. We did not issue those guidelines, and you're wrong about that. Simply wrong. I have stood up each and every time.
So I think if this
On
is one
school
issue
choice-
that's disqualifying, it's this one.
I stood up every single time for parents to be able to make the decisions for their minor children.
But parents-
Every single time, parents should make those decisions. And by the way, you know what? Every once in a while, parents are going to make
Fact check,
decisions.
Politico,
that we
2017,
disagree
Chris
with.
Christie signs bill
But
to
the minute
extend
you start to
protections
take
for
those
trans
rights
students.
away from parents.
He is lying.
You don't know that slippery slope, what rights are going to be taken away next, and
You
what's
do
going to be
not
imposed
have,
on
as
you.
a parent, you do not have the right to abuse your kids. This is cutting off their genitals. This is mutilating these minors. These are irreversible procedures, and this is something that other countries in Europe, like Sweden,
How is this a
once they
controversial
started doing it,
position?
they saw it did incalculable
It's
damage.
not.
They've shut it down.
But it is important
I
to
signed
point out that
legislation
Christie
in
was against
Florida banning
Right.
the mutilation of minors because it is wrong. We cannot allow this to happen in this country. And I know Chris disagrees with me, and I think he has an honest position. Nikki disagrees with me. She opposes the bill that we did to ban that. She said the law shouldn't get involved with it. You said the law shouldn't get involved with it.
She's so
She
under her
also,
skin.
though, I think, and this
So
flows
annoying.
from what she did as governor of South Carolina, they had
Yeah,
a
she
bill
gaffed
to
that
try
one.
to say that men
She
should
said
go
keep
into
government
girls'
out.
bathrooms. And she killed that bill, and she bragged that she killed that bill. Even to this day, she bragged that. I don't think men should be going into little girls' bathrooms. I think it's wrong, and I think we have every right to protect them from that.
I am going to come to you. I promise to have seconds. Go quickly.
I just think the North Star here is transgenderism is a mental health disorder. We don't let you smoke a cigarette by the age of 18. We don't let you have an addictive drink of alcohol by the age of 21. And I just challenge Ron DeSantis
It's
to go
21
one step
for cigarettes
further
too,
and
though,
support what
I
I think
think.
is clearly within the authority to do using federal funds just like Reagan did in '84 for the Highway Act that said the minimum drinking age needs to be 21. We can do the same thing when it comes to banning genital mutilation or chemical castration.
Okay.
I know Ron's been
Okay. Let me get
unclear
to
about that on the
Ambassador
federal
Haley.
level. I'm crystal clear. That's where I stand.
Got
And
it.
That's a mental health disorder. That's where
it.
we need to be at.
Go ahead.
It is literally a disorder. It's in the
First of all,
DSM-5.
Ron has
Correct.
continued to lie because he's losing.
No, it's not a lie.
You are lying.
You said it on tape.
So first of all, I will say that when I was governor,
frazzled.
10 years ago, when the bathroom situation came up, we had maybe a handful of kids that were dealing with an issue. And I said, we don't need to bring government into this, but boys go into boys' bathrooms, girls go into girls' bathrooms. And if anyone else has an issue, they use a private bathroom. Now, 10 years later, we see that this issue has exploded. And this shows how hypocritical Ron continues to be. When he was running for governor and they asked him about that, he said he didn't think bathroom bills were a good use of his time. You can go look that up.
I signed a bathroom bill in Florida. So
But
I don't believe her.
No.
Ron's a culture warrior. It's the only thing he's got. These are his issues.
The idea that you would say that I was
signed
against
it,
that.
you didn't. You killed it, I signed it. I
We
stood
didn't.
for little girls, you didn't do it. And there was this
They
going on.
are
I
a
was
good
actually just in
contrast 'cause
South
they're both
Carolina.
governors
Some of the
in a
legislators
similar
told me
region.
at the time there were boys going into the girls. That's the
There
whole
were
reason
not.
why they
No,
did
no,
it.
no, no, no.
And so they say when she does that explanation that doesn't hold water. And this is the upstate of South Carolina.
Ron.
I signed the bill. I
Do
protected
you
the
know
girls.
South Carolinians?
She did not do
you
it.
know
I know
South
that.
Carolinians? Because South Carolinians. No. You are not going to talk about my state like that, because I will tell you
Hey,
for
you're
a
a
fact,
state lady.
South Carolinians never allowed that to happen, and we did not have that issue at the time. What I have always said is boys go into a boys' bathroom, girls go into a girls' bathroom. But hold on one second. I also say that biological boys shouldn't be playing in girls' sports, and I will do everything I can to stop that, because it's the women's issue of our time.
The thing is, Nick Masters, who's the governor of South Carolina now, is way more Trump and way more base than she ever was.
We're going to move on.
Yeah.
So they have
Mr.
moved past her,
Ramaswamy,
even if they ever supported
when discussing
her.
your Hindu faith in September, you seemed to take a shot at Ambassador Haley, who is also Indian American and who converted to Christianity as an adult. You said, an easy thing for me to do, being a politician, is to shorten my name, profess to be a Christian, and then run. Make Vivek Vicky or whatever, end quote. Are you questioning Nikki Haley's Christian convictions? And why has your campaign made a point of referring to Ambassador Haley by her given first name, Nimarata, even though she's gone by Nikki for her whole life?
Well, my whole deal is if Nikki Haley, of all people, should know how to pronounce my name correctly, the rest of the news media can learn it.
Vivek.
My deal is I'll call her Nikki when she can say my own name right. That's our little fun side bet there. Here's what I will say is deeper. I don't question her faith, but I question her authenticity. And I think that's deeper here. We were just talking about the trans issue. This is a symptom of a deeper cancer in American life. Identity politics. This new religion that says your race, your gender, and your sexuality are your identity. It is anti-American. It is meritocratic. It's anti-meritocratic, and it is dividing this country to a breaking point. And I've spoken about this to the left. My books are all about this. I've preached this to the left, but it's even worse when Republicans try to play the same game. We're talking about that trans issue. And Nikki Haley's campaign launch video sounded like a woke Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said. After the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think no. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die.
Whoa, oh my God, that was actually it. That was a real thing.
This is the problem.
No.
Identity
I tweeted that thing that somebody sent out, and I thought that was a joke. I thought it was Photoshopped. I retweeted that.
This is going to be a meme.
He did it on purpose.
There's going to be a big penis on. Yeah, he's going to get tons of
Holy shit.
memes.
This is how this game is
I thought that was a joke.
The puppet masters put up their puppet.
He's doing that right now because he wants it to be a meme.
It has been a cancer.
He wants everyone to know his name.
And I'm sick and tired of the double standards of people.
That was amazing. My buddy sent me a picture of the tweet. I thought this was Photoshopped. I thought it was Photoshopped. Like this is like 10 minutes ago.
Would you like to respond?
I thought it was Photoshopped, and it's real.
It's not
But that's not him holding up. That's an overhead shot of him preparing.
Correct.
At every step. She knows it's
I thought this was shot. And it's like, holy cow, it was real. Oh my God.
To you.
Okay, we got to move on to this.
I love
Now,
this.
by
Wow,
arrangement,
dude.
with the
I'm
Republican
going to
National
Photoshop
Committee,
something
we've
right
got
now,
two
actually.
questions for you about the Justice Department and our election system. Here's Tom Fitton with Judicial Watch.
No, let's just talk about Vivek crushing Nikki. Can we please talk about that, please? Vivek crushing Nikki? No?
That's
President Trump and many of his supporters claim
Oh, hey,
that
Tom.
law enforcement agencies
Most yoked
have
fuck-
abused his civil rights for the
most
last
yoked
8
dude out
years
there.
by, among other things, spying on him and now prosecuting him while
deadlift
having
more than
treated
him.
Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden with kid gloves. A recent Gallup poll shows that Americans think more highly of the U.S. Postal Service than they do the FBI or Justice Department. What would you do as president to restore the faith of the American people in these agencies?
Well, first off, I'm the only person on this stage who's actually done a job in the Department of Justice. I was the U.S. Attorney in New Jersey in the 5th largest office in this country, appointed by President Bush on September 10th, 2001.
Okay.
And it was an extraordinary time in this country to be on the front lines of fighting the greatest attack against our country since Pearl Harbor. And I'm proud of the 7 years I spent in the Justice Department. And one of the reasons I am is because I had an Attorney General when I came in named John Ashcroft. And John Ashcroft stood up and told each and every one of us our job was to do one thing, to make sure justice was done every day, regardless of partisanship, regardless of gender or race or any other consideration. And that's what we did for 7 years. And at a time when our country was at its greatest moment of danger in the last 40 years, We did exactly that, and there was not another domestic terrorist attack on this soil. So what I would do as president, having had that experience, and the only one who's had that experience, is to pick an attorney general who will absolutely do the same thing that John Ashcroft did, to pick U.S. attorneys who will only care about making sure that justice is done without regard to any other consideration but the facts that are presented and whether someone is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and the government can prove it. We have had attorneys general like Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch and Jeff Sessions, and now our current attorney general, who have not met that standard. And the only way you restore people's faith in the justice system is to put someone like that in charge of the Justice Department, and then as president, to get the hell out of the way on anything that involves criminal investigations. If a president's involved in trying to do something and put their thumb on the scales, Donald Trump says he will do.
Oh, shut up.
That makes people much less likely to believe our justice system can be fair.
Thank you.
Was Chris talking? I didn't even notice.
Yeah, he made okay
Many
point.
Republicans are concerned about the legitimacy of elections.
They
A
have
federal
3
judge
women and they're
just
still
ruled
calling
that
in someone else to ask
Pennsylvania
questions.
must
Wild.
count undated mail-in ballots, and unlike Alabama, many states still don't require any identification to vote. What should states do now to increase election integrity and voter confidence for the 2024 election?
Blockchain.
Well, Tom, thanks for the question. Thanks for what you guys do at Judicial Watch. It's really, really important. There's a lot of corruption in this government. You guys are doing a great job.
Judicial Watch is
what
awesome.
you should do for election integrity is do what we did in Florida. 20 years ago, Florida and elections was a joke. Everybody would laugh at it. I came in, I removed a couple supervisors from South Florida. We require voter ID universal, no Zuckerbucks, no mass mail balloting, and no ballot harvesting. We even have an agency that prosecutes people for violating election laws. The result of that, in both 2020 and 2022, we counted millions and millions of votes on election night, produced the results, it was transparent, and everybody was happy. That is not happening throughout this country. But let me tell you this as the nominee. I think it's important. Not every state's where we need it to be. There is ballot harvesting in places like Nevada, all these places. I am not going to fight with one hand tied behind my back. I'm going to have organizations in all the swing states. If they're harvesting, we're harvesting. If they're Zuckerbucks, we're Zuckerbucks. We are going to exploit whatever the rules are. I favor changing the rules to be like Florida and some of the other states that have done a good job. But until then, we have to do that. And then just on the Justice Department and FBI. I mean, I remember being, in Iraq working with FBI on the ground and being, and then I was a special assistant. I used to have such a high regard for these agencies. What they did to Donald Trump with the Russia collusion was one of the biggest abuses of power in the history of our country. These agencies need to be cleaned out. With me, you'll have a new FBI director on day one. We're going to clear out the DOJ, the IRS, all these places. Buckle your seatbelts. There's going to be a new sheriff in town.
Thank you. All right, we got to do a quick break.
That line,
We're going to come back in 1 minute.
It's a
China,
good one.
Up next.
Just once.
He's got big sheriff's
I'm
cowboy boots.
photoshopping right
Photoshopping.
now. Yeah, I'm using my phone. It's kind of
That blew my mind, dude. So, like,
held it up for a
when
while.
Josh, my buddy downstairs, was like, he sent me the picture, the meme of that, of the whole, Haley's corrupt. I thought it was literally Photoshop.
So you had like an aerial shot of it?
Yeah, there's like overhead shot. I retweeted, and I like literally thought it was like, somebody Photoshopped. Ha 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 ha.
You know he wants it.
And then he holds up. I'm like, holy shit.
For a long time.
I know, it was wild.
He just stood there and had it at the correct angle.
Yeah, multiple
He's like,
camera
I am
angles.
about to become a meme.
Grandpa, how did Nikki Haley's political career end? And just show that picture. I was like, they crushed it, bro.
Yeah.
I am curious to
Wild.
see what the polls are like tomorrow because Chris Christie's barely here. I mean, he's not talking at all. And in fact, there was a whole segment where they never even tossed him a question.
I couldn't even hear him breathing over the mic either.
No, you couldn't. And then you have Nikki Haley, who she is holding a pretty steady position in New Hampshire. But again, will this shake it enough to put, I would be really curious. Right now, it doesn't look like Vivek would win New Hampshire. It looks like Donald Trump will win Iowa and New Hampshire. But I wonder who that second place will be. Will that be enough?
There you go. Yeah, that's what I was picturing. I hope that goes on Twitter.
Should I tweet?
Yeah, I don't know.
Vivek 2024 truth. Tweet it really big with the word truth all in caps.
Vivek and I got a fixture camera there, Ian, and just saw it.
Okay.
Over there.
Oh, you know what I will do though?
That's a funny one.
So for those that are wondering, I just
1 second.
I'm using my phone here to edit this wonderful Vivek photo, and I I drew a male genitals on his
all of them
on his notepad.
That's awesome.
No, but what I will do is I'm going to post. I'm going to erase what he wrote and post the blank white notepad.
Oh, that's
a good idea.
Yeah, create systems.
Create systems.
I
will unleash it unto you, and I will not post the vulgarity myself. I take no responsibility for what you say.
Yeah, David Robinson in chat feels that one. He had the image. So Christie said how he would restore faith in the FBI was to replace, what was it, the Attorney General?
Yeah, they also like clear out the front office, so to speak.
I feel like he could have punched harder at the Biden administration. Like, the thing is, Trump is dominating this. They're all critiquing Trump's record. He was the last Republican president, but they could all be attacking Joe Biden for all kinds of things because those will be the immediate problems they take on when, if anyone theoretically, not that I think any of them are going to get elected, but whoever is elected next is going to take on the legacy of Joe Biden. And he has left a lot of messes behind him. Like, he is a destructive president in so many ways. Let's just talk about the border. All of them have interesting and fairly strong positions on the border, way stronger than Republicans have been in the past. But it's not enough, right? They need to talk more directly about what Biden is not doing.
Also, the Trump didn't build the wall thing. I don't think it was a one-term job.
No, it wasn't.
It's like a three.
And it
could take 16 years. It could take a long time in reinforcement.
There was obstruction. And when several border states started building their own barriers, the federal government under Biden came and took them down.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when they
got to import their voters one way or another?
Doug Ducey out of Arizona he had these shipping containers in the gaps.
Yeah.
And they're like, you have to go down. They're in federal land or something. You're like, okay, are you going to put a wall up? And they're like, but no, the animals migrate through here.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
there's one thing as well when you mentioned there when like Christie talks about saying, hey, clean out DOJ. And it comes down like, well, for example, one of my close friends from the Navy who's now been in the FBI for about almost 15 years now. He's kind of the same mind. He is very based in many ways, but also at the same time, he kind of looks at it as he's worried about this, like throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of a thing. And, I'm more the mind like, no, you need to like make some very disruptive changes as in like breaking it up, right? Like saying like it has to happen. A lot of folks, I'm not saying like, look, and one thing we have to realize though is like the phrase we had when I was in the service, it's called, one aw shit ruins 1,000 attaboys. Right? Because guess what? Like the FBI does do a lot of really good work. They stop drug dealers, child predators. They do actual real work. But the thing is, though, is like, look, when there are like these massive fails, and not even fails, but like evil, bad things that that federal law enforcement are doing, it's like that does not that negates all the good work. It's got to be split up. And it's got to be like it can be divvied out to different agencies, state level, federal level, but it's way too powerful. If you read about how the FBI started, it's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, J. Edgar Hoover. It was like his personal military or something.
Yeah, it's wild.
I don't know much about it.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's insane. Oh, we're back.
And this girl.
House Republicans yesterday hauled elite university presidents up to Capitol Hill to answer for the displays of anti-Semitism on college campuses.
And they all defended it.
These leaders, including the president of Harvard, were asked whether calling for the genocide of the Jews would violate school policies against harassment and intimidation. No. All of them said it would depend on the context, including whether that speech veers into conduct. How do you think these schools and the rest of society should balance the imperative of free speech against the need to prevent radical activists from harassing and intimidating others?
It was disgusting to see what happened. If this had been the KKK that was doing protests on those campuses, every one of those college presidents would have been up in arms. This is just as bad. The idea that they would go and allow that kind of pro-Hamas protest or agree with the genocide of Jews and try and say that they needed context on that, there is no context to that. This is what we need to do.
You don't allow protests.
First
protests
of all,
are allowed.
we have got to get foreign money out of our universities. You've got Arab money, you've got Chinese money, you've got others. We need to go to every university and say, you either take foreign money or you take American money, but the days of taking both are over. The second thing we need to do
Already getting the fake clipboard memes. Already got one. My buddy just said
that was a really funny
from downstairs.
There's one in Super Chat. I can't say it though.
If
Fair
you
enough.
don't think
It's really good.
that Israel has a right to exist, that is anti-Semitic. We will change the definition so that every government, every school has to acknowledge the definition for what it is. The third thing is we really do need to ban TikTok once and for all. And let me tell you why. For every 30 minutes that someone watches TikTok, every day, they become 17% more anti-Semitic, more pro-Hamas based
How do
on
you
doing
measure that?
We
Who
now
did this
know
study?
that 50% of adults
probably
18
true.
to 25
We do know that TikTok
Hamas
pushes
was
pro-Hamas
warranted in what they
content.
did with Israel. That's a
But I
problem.
just wonder where she got the
when
17%
campuses
from.
also don't go and protect when they have these rallies and you've got students that are scared, we need to go to these universities and say, if you're not going to protect these students, if you're not going to acknowledge anti-Semitism, we'll take your tax-exempt status away. That'll fix it, and that'll take care of it for good.
Staying with you, Ambassador Haley. On October 6th, the Israeli government thought it had a clear-eyed view of the threat from Hamas.
His Photoshop
In fact,
skills were that
according
good.
to the New York Times, it even had Hamas's attack plan and dismissed it as an aspiration. The Israelis were wrong. In our country, the FBI director told the Senate panel just yesterday that he sees, quote, blinking red lights everywhere, and that the threat level has, quote, gone to a whole nother level since October 7th. Which of the threats facing our country do you worry could blindside us?
What worries me and what keeps me up at night is what happens between now and Election Day while Joe Biden's in office. That's what worries me more than anything else. But I'll tell you that America right now is acting like it's September 10th. We better remember what September 12th felt like, because it only takes one. And whether you're looking
saying,
at
like, we're
open
acting like
borders
everything's
that are
fine.
allowing people to come in, Iran knows the easiest way to get to America
Right
is
back
through
to
the
Iran.
southern border. And we're not doing anything to stop it. We've got to get the foreign infiltration out of our country, whether it's in our schools, whether it's on our social media, whether it's we need to stop all foreign lobbying that's happening to members of Congress, and we need to start securing America again. Until we do that, we are going to be at threats. We've got to look at Iran, China, and Russia want to destroy the West.
I was in the Senate
We
today.
have
You know
to
how many
start
Ukraine
acting
pins I
strong
saw?
Again. We've got to
Yeah,
start
I can
protecting
imagine.
Americans. Right now,
lot.
Americans don't feel protected.
Oh, dude,
and we're
plenty.
not doing anything to strengthen it. So Joe Biden continues to be a problem. That'll change on Election Day.
Governor DeSantis, if China invades Taiwan, would you send American troops, as President Biden has said he would do?
We will be able to deter that from happening. I think that's the important thing. We need a strategy of denial so that we're deterring Xi's ambitions.
What if it doesn't work?
It's going to work. Taiwan's an ally. We have longstanding American policy, and you know how that's done, and we will follow that. But here's the thing. Taiwan is important not just because of semiconductors. It's important because if China is able to break out of this first island chain, they're going to be able to dominate commerce in the entire Indo-Pacific.
Correct.
They will use that to export authoritarianism all around the world, including here in the United States. You look at some of these guys, actually some of them that are supporting Nikki on Wall Street, they grovel to China. Anytime something happens, they got to go do that. So they already exert a huge amount of authority over this country. It will get a lot worse. So deterring China's ambitions is the #1 national security task that I will do as president, and we will succeed. The 21st century needs to be an American century. We cannot let it be a Chinese century.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
I think we need to be clear. I'll be clear on the same issue, if I may.
I'm coming to you next on Taiwan. You said if you want to stop Xi from invading Taiwan, quote, let's open a branch of the NRA in Taiwan and put an AR-15 in the hands of every family and train them how to use it.
I stand by that.
A taste of American exceptionalism, end quote. The National Police in Taiwan announced a zero-gun policy last year. Is this a serious policy proposal? And if it isn't, why do you keep repeating it?
Well, it's part of a broader deterrence strategy. And so I think I'm going to respectfully disagree with Ron here. I think the next U.S. president needs to be crystal clear that at least for the foreseeable future, the U.S. will absolutely defend Taiwan. And it is with that clarity that we actually achieve deterrence.
Until we
but
don't
I have a broader
to,
strategy
which
than that.
I agree.
We need to get on side in our relationship with India, take it to the next level. India has to be able to block the Andaman Sea, which is where China gets most of its Middle Eastern oil supplies. That's critical. I also do believe the Second Amendment is a critical way of preventing foreign autocrats from being able to. It's worked in America. Why wouldn't it work in Taiwan? So it is part of a broader strategy. But I do think that we need to be specific about our deterrence strategy, or else Xi Jinping is just encroaching by the day. And the reason why we're not doing it for China, I want to be crystal clear, is because we're scared. Why are we scared? Because we depend on them for our modern way of life. Why do we depend on them for our modern way of life? It's It's because Nikki Haley's latest friends like Larry Fink have created commingled economies with BlackRock telling Exxon and Chevron they can't drill here, while being a shareholder of PetroChina, not applying those same constraints in China. So it is our economic dependence on China that makes us scared. If that were a Russian spy balloon, we'd have shot it down in an instant.
Correct.
If that were a Russian spy base in Cuba, we'd be actually going hard on them instead of turning the other way as we are with China. So it comes back down to that economic dependence. We cannot depend on them for our pharmaceuticals, our semiconductors, and people have been lied to for a long time. Our own military, the F-35 jets that we make in this country, depend on China, and it's going to take an outsider to fix that broken establishment.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. Ambassador Haley, would you like to respond?
You should come back with, like, if every 30 minutes kids on TikTok, they're 17% more anti-Semitic, that means Nikki Haley's kid is like 8,500% anti-Semitic.
We win in Ukraine, that we protect our friends, but also let China know that they'll be held accountable if they go into Taiwan. They need to know that there is going to be a force that's going to go against them. And they need to know it's not just going to be the United States. That is why we need to build our partnerships with India, with South Korea, with Japan, with the Philippines, with Australia. We need to start pulling that alliance together. And the first way we do that is we need to make sure that on day one we look at the fact, if China pulled the rug out from under us tomorrow, would we be ready? Think about what happened during COVID.
Sure wouldn't, folks.
Everybody told you to wear a mask. They were made in China. Everybody told you to take a COVID test. They were made in China. Everybody went and, everything that happened. If you go to the drugstore, all those medicines are made in China.
I hope that's
we
not
have to make sure that we are not relying on China for
somebody caught a clip after the break. Chris Christie went over to the desk during the break and started bitching at Megyn Kelly.
Whoa, really? It's like, I should be the moderator.
Governor Christie, I'd like you to weigh in on that. And do you think arming every family in Taiwan with an AR-15 is a plausible policy?
Ian, I'll DM it.
I don't think we have constitutional authority over Taiwan to give them a Second Amendment. I think they can only do that for themselves. But look,
he went over there and bitched
I want to be really clear. Once again, I want to play the role of actually answering your question, which is if China went after Taiwan,
you Tim?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I
would,
retweeted it
as
too.
president, have us go militarily and defend them. Secondly, I'm not afraid,
I would have bitched her out too,
based upon those economic relationships, to do that, because these economic relationships mean nothing. Nothing. If what's going to happen is that China is going to come and act in that region of the world however they see fit. It's not right. And I'll say this about what I heard from Nikki earlier. She said that Donald Trump was good on trade. He wasn't. And the proof that he wasn't good on trade with China is that all he did was impose tariffs, which raised the prices for every American. You want to know what has contributed to inflation in this country?
He wants a position in the Democrat administration.
Yes, it's more government spending.
The Democrat wins and then says, we're going to be bipartisan and unify the country.
Absolutely,
Chris Christie's a Republican. We're bringing him back.
Increasing prices that were driven by Donald Trump's tariffs.
Republican who has previously endorsed Trump.
You can't say he was good on trade because he didn't trade. He didn't change one Chinese policy in the process. He failed on it.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Governor DeSantis, switching subjects here. For 15 years, Republicans have been burned by politicians' promises to repeal Obamacare. Trump repeatedly promised to replace it with, quote, something terrific, but failed to propose anything. You're now promising something better, but Florida has more uninsured people than almost any other state. Why should Americans trust you more than any other Republicans who've disappointed them on this issue?
Well, I think we have millions of Americans who do not have access to affordable health care. And it's not just getting some type of card and Medicaid, because a lot of times they don't even get access to doctors. Do you actually get access to care? The other thing is we have millions and millions of people who don't have access to good doctors and good hospitals. Florida did not expand Obamacare. I think the states that did that, I think, are struggling financially. So that, yes, we declined to do that, and I don't think that that was the right policy to do. But we are going to go after the cost. You're paying too much for everything. We've actually addressed this in Florida in some ways, but you need price transparency. You need to hold the pharmaceuticals accountable. You need to hold big insurance and big government accountable. And we're going to get that done. I think it's very, very important economically. I think it's very, very important for the country that we get that done.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to, this is a very personal issue to our family. I wanted to take actually a minute to recognize my wife who's here today. Badass surgeon. She did a bunch of cases with cancer survivors earlier today, flew here to be tonight. We'll be back at 7 a.m. in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow taking care of those patients in the OR.
Most accomplished.
And on the front lines of people who have actually not swallowed for years. And here's what's something that's awful that's happening in our healthcare system. They'll pay for anything like feeding tubes, doctors to be pill pushers, but for the procedures that can actually make these patients better, we have a broken healthcare system that doesn't pay for it. My wife, Apoorva, in many cases, does not get paid for those procedures. She does them anyway because it's the right thing to do. But that does not work system-wide.
Yep.
So here's the answer.
I can tell you about
we
that
don't
one.
have a healthcare system in this country. We have a sick care system. We need to start having diverse insurance options in a competitive marketplace that cover actual health, preventative medicine, diet, exercise, lifestyle, and otherwise.
Because he doesn't have to defend a legacy of policy he's already put out. You know, it can just be new ideas always.
That's where the competitive marketplace begins. That's crony capitalism, and that's the answer.
Okay, right, multiple times over.
He's a successful first. I mean, he doesn't have any political
The Trump administration
experience.
and private industry developed a COVID vaccine in record time.
Whoa.
Can't talk about the vaccine apparently on Rumble.
Wait, that's not us. That's them.
That was a joke.
This is them, yeah.
Oh,
technical issue.
What? Dude, seriously, as soon as they start talking about vaccines, come on, guys.
Dude, Vivek
We're on Rumble.
he just
What's
explained how to
happening?
solve it. He said that you need to end the antitrust exemptions on the pharmaceutical on the insurance agencies.
Wait.
This is odd.
What, she just asked him about vaccines, and the whole thing just shut down.
Dude, that's some straight,
Somebody
like,
call Chris from Rumble.
don't make me want to put on a tinfoil hat, guys. But, like, come on.
But
Making this
like I said, if it was YouTube, I'd be like, oh, that makes sense.
I mean,
but
we're on YouTube.
So you end the antitrust
we're off.
But, like,
exemption
Rumble.
We'll be right
for
back.
insurance agencies. That's
Holy
pretty cool.
I like the music though.
yeah, they're jamming.
Vibing.
You know
Take
what?
some, like,
The
super
music
chats?
makes it all. The music makes it okay.
Of all
I'm
those
just-
folks on stage, I gotta say the things you
chilling.
think about it, like the guys, Vivek, right? Like tremendous private sector experience, right? And his wife's super accomplished too. Like, you know, it's one of those things you compare him in terms of like legacy, like what they've done before, like politician compared to someone who, you know, like started huge companies. He's a billionaire, or I don't know if he's a billionaire. He's a 9-figure dude at least. Like that's pretty hard to do.
Yeah,
it is.
I think often about I'm not qualified to get into politics yet because I haven't done jack shit with my personal life. Like I guess I have.
Yo, it's
but
still
not
down.
like,
What's going on?
I know it's wild, dude.
Okay, but what if it's not the vaccine thing? What if like Chris Christie finally stormed off stage or like fell over?
Who
or something
knows? I don't know,
cutting
man.
it?
Yo, but for real, like, what if something
Is
happens
this
to somebody?
is this airing somewhere else?
Well, right now.
Well,
Rumble's saying
online,
look
this is
into
it's on Rumble. Like, if you want to watch on television, we could.
Well, I'm not saying you should pull it up, but just like let's make sure it's like it's not
like
it's not a
Rumble
Rumble
exclusive,
problem.
right?
It's a Rumble problem and not you know.
This is their stream.
Yeah, this is their stream. So
This is the
like
official
Rumble right
Disney
now is
stream.
still looking into it from what I can see. So
But I'm like, if
see.
other folks are airing it
Yeah,
right
looks
now,
like TV is still on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just
So
a Rumble issue, it
problem.
seems.
So if you're
Okay.
watching on cable, you're still getting it.
Probably Okay.
Chris Christie, he's eating the microphone. No, I'm kidding.
He's
It was
bored.
obvious I
He
was
charged the camera. He's like, I'm tired of this.
The entire
Oh
idea.
no!
What?
Austin Peterson tweets: Vivek just hammered the final nail in the neocon coffin era tonight.
I want to
I'm in
rewatch.
suspense. What did he say?
But the idea of like any politician, right, who's coming out there, where it's like this guy, like Vivek and Trump, for that matter, they don't need the job, right? He does not need to be here, right? A lot of these folks here, that's how they make their money.
Yeah, wow,
right?
I can't believe they just lost the debate.
The thing is, everyone on stage needs to be here to raise their national profile on some
Right.
level, and that's totally understandable. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
they were invented in the first place,
Sure.
right? So Americans could get to know the candidates. But it is a weird stage when ultimately we know. I wonder if Trump is waiting until there's basically one left, and then he's like, okay, I'll do a debate now. Like, he doesn't need to be here while they throw punches at each other. But we all ultimately want to know how whoever comes out of this stacks up against Trump.
If I gotta say, if he's still maintaining a ridiculously strong lead, he has no incentive to. It's like,
Well, that's what he said. He was like,
it's all downside.
right,
for him.
and the GOP needs him more because he's essentially a headliner, right?
100%.
If he goes, they're like, it's ridiculous to skip this. That was Ron McDaniels, but he would boost all of their ratings. Are we back? Is it
What is
happening?
going on?
When anyone asks who lost the debate tonight, the answer is Rumble.
Ouch! I know it sucks because I love Rumble. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I
for a
just
lot of ways,
refreshed
I
it,
get
and
you,
now
man.
it's just doing this.
It's the trip counter of Joe Biden and versus
Rumble
Stairs.
HQ tripping all over themselves.
That's
Here we go.
funny
Here we go.
that-
No, no, no,
Oh
this
no!
is-
Oh, you're rewinding. Oh crap.
Yeah.
And
I
then
hope it
cut.
picks
Oh,
up.
they just switched
Yeah,
to.
they just cut to some trips From,
yeah, switch to some.
They're like, remember how much you don't like Joe Biden?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Get your exclusive.
Run the Biden blooper reel.
Now they're selling me elephant pens.
I do feel like they're not talking about Biden enough. I think that there's a lot of infighting, which makes sense as a Republican primary. But
Sure.
like I said, they're going to inherit. They're going to inherit whatever Biden leaves
Whoa,
them.
what? Okay, I guess Rumble just
bad?
lost it. I don't know.
I get annoyed when they talk about other people.
Did it go to commercial now? I guess because they're running commercials.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they must have been pretty close to a commercial break, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's running
They're
commercials.
looking into it
now.
right now. That's all I can see.
Yeah, Rumble's just everyone at Rumble. They're all jumping through their asses trying to figure it out. I'm sure. Yeah.
Birch Gold got.
But I think it went to commercial anyway. So
okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they were close to a break. And
Still, but right when they're talking vaccine stuff, just a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Rumble doesn't.
No, I know.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm with
if
you.
it was
I'm with
YouTube,
you.
I think it's
Is
like.
that Armless Palmer? They don't make those anymore.
You got to keep the can as a collectible.
Because Liquid Death got sued.
So just a shout out to
now it's called Dead Billionaire.
The best one of the best mill blog guys out there on Mill Twitter. So if you guys are out there, a guy named Commander Salamander, who CDR Salamander, strongly recommend on any sort of like military, special naval issues. He's a retired naval officer friend who I know in real life, but he maintains himself very anon. Anyways, he was like tweeting at me. He's like, "What's that can that Tom has right now? He's watching right now." And so, hey Sal, and so it's Liquid Death, and it's limited edition and obviously discontinued.
Yeah.
So
it's actually called. I think it's not Dead Billionaire. It's Dead Golfer.
Dead Billionaire.
Okay.
Dead Billionaire.
Yeah.
Oh,
but to the friends who are anybody's watching right now, you're interested in anything military on Twitter, Commander Salamander, CDR Salamander, 10 out of 10 recommend. He's a
it's
great
awesome.
dude.
I just followed him.
Do you talk to a lot
phenomenal.
of people who don't use Twitter? Like, how often do you?
A ton. I mean, that's like my family.
And do you feel like
friends.
they exist in a different world than you do? We were talking about this the other night.
Yeah, generally. Oh yeah, lots of my mom's always asking me like, "Oh, did you watch this on da da da?" And it's like, "No, I don't watch Fox."
Yeah, but you have all sorts of information that they probably don't have.
Yeah, I mean, like it's one thing that also a lot of us who are like very online, right, especially on political, cultural issues, you got to realize that it's like that's a pretty niche, field.
It is.
Yeah. And, outside of folks, like even when I mentioned, I'm going on this podcast tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. Like, a lot of folks, the folks who are like following politics or online watching things, they all know this.
Yeah.
But a lot of folks are like, I've heard of that. I'm like, Tim Pool, you heard about him? He used to work for Vice. He used to do this, Occupy Wall Street, bet way back in the day. Like, I think we're, but a lot of the normies, they don't follow Twitter. They don't know what's going on.
So how do you feel like that will affect with the 2024 election? Because there is, I think, even more than 2016, more than 2020, a division between people who are online and see one thing and actual, not even like lefties who are offline, like just moderate voters who don't exist in this space.
I think they're actually, this is just me guessing and I could be wrong and I'm trying to like set my own biases aside. I think they're actually more based than we think. I believe that.
I believe that. I feel like the left has dragged the barometer so far over that they point to the middle and say, you're far right.
Cthulhu always swims left, right? If you follow Curtis Yarvin's stuff at all, how Cthulhu always swims to the left.
Because one of his flippers are bigger than the other.
Right. Well, yeah, but it's just always that way.
One of the things I've always said is politics always flows left.
Yeah.
And what that means is if an Antifa guy stands next to a Trump supporter in a photograph, they're both right wing.
Right.
Or does that mean politics only flows to the right? I don't know. It flows in one direction.
Well, yeah. Take your like conventional, like mainstream, well-known conservative, like your Ben Shapiro, right? For instance, right? Who we would consider, right? You transport him back in time 100 years, he's a wacko lefty, right? You know what I mean? By 1923 standards, right? And then if you take, somebody who's on the right from 1923, right, and you transport him to 1823, he's a wacko lefty. Right. So it's like always kind of swims to the left. Right. Mm-hmm. And then until there's usually some sort of a reset, not to get all like.
So does that mean that you feel like we're approaching
great reset?
You feel like we're approaching a reset period? If you feel like the moderate, just
I wish we weren't,
normies.
But we probably are because I think a lot of people can agree. It's like a vibe, whatever you want to call it. But like
we're back. We're back.
We're back. Let's do it.
About President Reagan. That's going to be called "What Would Reagan
back to the
Do?"
Vaccines.
That book's going to come out early in 2024.
He's writing books now.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Was that Ronald Reagan was a slave to the truth. Ronald Reagan stood up for the truth, whether it was popular or unpopular at the moment. In 1964, he stood up against the John Birch Society when it was very unpopular to the party to do it, but he would not put up with our party standing for lies and deceit, even if it gave him political progress. That's the kind of president that I will be, and I would draw that inspiration from the 40th president of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
Ambassador Haley.
Well, I have to say, too, I think
idea
George
of Reagan.
Washington, when you look at the responsibilities he had,
The cultural idea,
how
not
do
even
you
what he
go
actually
and
did.
take on
Correct.
That's the
this
problem.
great American experiment and make sure that the people are protected? And they always knew that government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of the people. It was never meant to be all things to all people. And then you look at Abraham Lincoln, and you look at the challenges, and you look at the division that happened in our country, and the ability to lead in spite of the loud noises.
Why does she
and
talk
say,
through her teeth like
what
that?
will bring out the
She's
best
saying-
in
talking
people
like
to get us to
every
go
teeth
forward
like
is
this.
always something that's
Yeah, she
important,
does.
and I think we need that now more than ever.
I feel like she's lost steam throughout this debate.
She doesn't open her mouth when she
Governor
talks.
DeSantis.
She's talking like this.
She mentioned
Reagan,
George
Washington, Lincoln,
Washington.
excellent. One of the guys I'll take inspiration from is Calvin Coolidge. Now, people don't talk about him a lot. He's one of the few presidents
Political
that
nerd
did
crowd.
almost everything
Nobody
right. He understood the proper role of the federal government under the Constitution. We need to restore the U.S. Constitution as the centerpiece of our national life, and that requires a president who understands the original understanding of the Constitution, who has a good sense of the Bill of Rights, and who knows how we've gone off track with this massive fourth branch of government, this administrative state, which is imposing its will on us and is being weaponized against us. So Silent Cal knew the proper role of the federal government. The country was in great shape when he was president of the United States, and we can learn an awful lot from Calvin Coolidge.
Over to you,
Well, all right.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
Okay, well,
to
great.
conclude
Thanks for
our
chiming
history
in.
lesson.
He's not
Sure.
wrong.
Well, I will say Ron picked a president who was born on July 4th. I'll pick one who died on July 4th. It's Thomas Jefferson. He was 33 years old when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. And you all are sitting on a swivel chair today. He invented the swivel chair while he was at it,
What?
while writing that Declaration
True.
of Independence. That's that founding spirit that we miss, that we're the pioneers. We're the explorers, the guy who sent them out on the Lewis and Clark expeditions. And I think a lot about what would Thomas Jefferson say to today's Republican Party. And I think one thing he'd remind us of, we haven't talked about it as much tonight, but I think it is one of the interesting ideological discussions we're having in our party is freedom of speech. You get to express your mind freely no matter how heinous the opinion. Thomas Jefferson understood that.
All right.
He's an inspiration for me.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. And believe it or not, it's time for closing statements. Governor Christie, would you like to begin?
Sure, thank you. I want you all to kind of picture in your minds Election Day.
Oh, God.
You'll all be heading to the polls to vote.
He's going to say
And
Donald
that's something
Trump.
that Donald Trump will not be able to do. Because he will be convicted of felonies before then, and his right to vote will be taken away. You know,
Does he not understand the base likes him?
Yeah, I know.
here's the bottom line. You can boo about it all you like and continue to deny reality.
you swear?
But if we deny reality as a party, we're going to have 4 more years of Joe Biden. When my colleagues here raised their hands and said they would support him even if he was a convicted felon, the bigger problem with it is they were confirming the lies he's told to the American people. If you're too timid to take on Trump, believe me, others will see that timidity. Xi, Putin and the Ayatollah, the border crossers on the southern border, and the criminals in our streets. They'll sense that timidity, and they'll take advantage of that failure of leadership.
He struggles to talk.
We need to get back to an old American idea that every person is responsible for their own conduct, even a president. I'll be the kind of president who has the humility that knows that you work for the people.
Get in a treadmill and we'll talk about
it.
I mean
It's
it
not the
seriously.
other way around. I will earn your trust. I want to earn your vote.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Mr. Ramaswamy?
I'll use this to just address a topic we didn't talk about tonight, but I think it's one of the most important topics that needs to be discussed.
New ideas always.
That is this climate change agenda that is shackling this country like a set of handcuffs.
Well, he brought it up.
I said it at the first debate, and I stand by it. The climate change agenda is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. That's what we have to see. 98% reduction in the climate disaster-related deaths in the last century. 8 times as many people are going to die of cold temperatures this year than warm ones. Yet against that backdrop, there's an issue coming up in Iowa. It's core to Iowa farmers. I met Kim Junker, Kathy Stockdale, and other farmers who are about to have a carbon capture pipeline built across their land using eminent domain to do it. That's unconstitutional and it's wrong. And if you thought COVID was bad, what's coming with this climate agenda is far worse. We should not be bending the knee to this new religion. That is what it is. It is a substitute for a modern religion. We are flogging ourselves and losing our modern way of life, bowing to this new god of climate, and that will end on my watch. It's the most critical issue that's coming up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our country is in chaos. We see it on the southern border. We see it on our streets in our cities. We see it on college campuses.
Open your mouth, dude.
We feel it with our economy, with inflation and with debt.
Why
and we
won't she
feel
open
it
her
around
mouth?
the world with
she
wars
probably
in
threw
Europe
Botox.
and within the Middle East.
Crazy surgery or something.
We have to
Injections.
stop the chaos, but you can't
She does seem
defeat
tense.
Democrat chaos.
It's been a rough night for her.
Republican chaos.
Yeah.
And that's what
Oh, she got
Donald Trump
crushed.
gives us. My approach is different. No drama, no vendettas, no whining.
Just war.
I envision an America where we're protected from illegal immigration and Chinese infiltration. I envision an America
shot her in the
where we
face
unleash our
on
economy
stage.
and we reject
Already, it's over.
socialism. But more importantly, I envision
That's
an
such a
America
broad
where we
statement that means
rediscover
nothing.
our national purpose and our pride.
Thank you.
I crushed
Thank you.
Joe Biden in
Thank
the
you.
polls. And
Thank
if you
you.
give me this chance, we will crush him in November and take our
Thank
country
you.
back.
Maybe her
Nikki
teeth are just
Haley,
too big.
Ambassador Haley.
Weird.
Veneers?
Yeah.
Yeah, public veneers.
No, I'm wondering if she's feeling like
Wait,
stressed and
there's still
emotional.
one more. I forgot. There's one more.
We
I
are in
forgot.
jeopardy of being the
Oh, yeah,
first
this guy.
generation of
Yeah, this
Americans
guy.
to leave to our kids and
He did a
grandkids in
decent
America
job.
less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. I refuse to sit idly by and let that happen. But we got to have people that are going to be willing to fight the people that are doing this to us. You can't be these establishment Republicans that just cave at the first sign of opposition. I'll fight for you. We also need to win again as a party. Yes, win the election, which we've struggled to do, but also win on these big issues. And nobody has defeated these people more than what I have done in the state of Florida on issue after issue. We have won, and we have won big, and that's what we'll do for you. We also need leadership. Leadership is not about doing what's easy. It's about being willing to set out that
Thank you.
vision, knowing they're going to shoot arrows at you. They're going to come at you. I will
Thank
fight
you.
the good fight. I will keep the faith, and I will finish the race. Thank you, and
Governor.
God bless you.
Thank you, all of you. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for watching. Thank you, guys.
Mic drop.
Man, can I tell you something? If I may, real quick, is if you guys might remember back in 2016 during the Democratic debates, which was like a hilarious, joke. They asked the final and closing out arguments to say, who is it somebody that you're proud to call your enemy, right? And it was like Bernie Sanders, like the NRA or somebody, and Hillary Clinton's like Republicans or whatever. And then they had, you guys remember James Webb? You guys remember
What
he
a
ran?
throwback.
He was a senator from Virginia, former Secretary of the Navy under Reagan, also kind of like one of my personal heroes who I looked up to as a kid. Naval Academy guy, Vietnam War hero, all this. And what he says is great. And this is like he was too based for Democrats. He goes, the North Vietnamese infantry officer who threw a grenade at me, but he's not around to talk about it anymore.
Is that the guy they named the James Webb Telescope after?
No, different guy.
Different James
Totally
Webb.
different James Webb. But yeah, that when I saw that, it was like, oh, Democrats couldn't handle that.
Well, I think it's clear after watching this, a tremendous performance by some of the candidates, and we all now know who the nominee is going to be. Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
So,
I think so.
Thanks everyone for hanging out for 2 hours so that we could confirm that it would be Donald Trump. But I got to give it up. I do think it was good. I think Ron actually it's his best debate performance.
He did well.
I still think he's got a personality problem and his campaign is poorly run.
There is.
But there's a lot of really great points when it comes to cultural issues. Sure. Nikki Haley lied. Chris Christie lied the most. So I pulled up the article. I tweeted it out from Politico. Chris Christie signed the bill on the trans bathroom stuff and other trans rights and other things. He's lying, and he knows he's in trouble.
Yeah.
With that. Nikki Haley also did say parental rights. She also did say she will make it so you can't be anonymous.
Yeah.
She's gaffed way too much. So, Ron and Vivek obviously took the night. Mm-hmm. But I want to make sure I point out, Vivek is speaking to us.
Of course.
There's a lot of people he's not speaking to.
Sure.
So we saw in his first debate performance, he actually saw favorability go up and unfavorability go up.
Sure.
So there were a lot of people who didn't know who he was.
Right.
And he polarized. So
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think Vivek can, write his ticket in the Trump administration.
And Chris Christie can write his for the Newsom administration.
You're not
But
wrong,
I don't
dude.
think the Newsom administration, I mean, they would take him just to eventually kick him out in a dramatic way because he is a Republican.
No, Newsom is going to be like, we're going to bring unity to this country.
Yeah, it'll be unity.
We want Republicans on our side. Chris Christie, I need your help.
No, he
And
would
Chris
take like a Liz Cheney because Liz Cheney's never endorsed Trump. Whereas this guy has.
But I think that's the point of what Chris Christie's going for.
Yeah, unpopular statement, guys. So I think it's a matter of time before Gavin Newsom is president. Yeah. One of these days. I mean, he's still relatively young. You don't think so? I'm not saying.
I think he'll
24.
campaign. I think he'll campaign.
I'm not saying 24.
No.
Really? Okay, guy.
No.
I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you're right.
He doesn't have it. Right?
Really? You don't think so?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
He's a Mitt Romney type.
Okay.
Right? Like the governor. Mitt Romney's a governor, he's a senator, and then he runs for president, and it's just like,
but Joe Biden,
old Mitt Romney.
Joe Biden was the Mitt Romney type. He was so gross in 08 when I was watching them debate Obama.
The other thing is, like, the Democrats have this identity issue, which is that they don't want white men in office anymore. So theoretically, they could run Gavin Newsom. He's good on some positions,
he's a white man.
He's a white man,
He's wealthy,
and this is
too.
going to continue to be one of the issues that bifurcates the voters in that party.
More important. Okay.
This is something that Joe Biden was like hinting at during his campaign. Like, I'll be the last of the old guard. Just elect me this one time, and now he doesn't want to leave. And if they put in a Gavin Newsom, it'll be the same thing. And
With Gavin, I look at it this way: it's like Gavin is charming. He is charismatic. He is handsome, and guess what? That matters, you guys, a lot more than people are willing to admit.
For sure.
And when people watch, I watch him every once in a while talk about certain things. I'm like, son of a bitch.
But he's
like Bill Clinton.
He can spend like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the X factor.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I know. Okay.
I mean, he may be like, he may be tier 1, but he is not special tier. Okay. Right? There's people who are well above.
Sure.
I would say Gavin Newsom falls into your standard ranking of politicians on the high end.
Okay.
But Trump, Obama, I wouldn't necessarily say George W. Bush, but yes, the people who become presidents have something above everybody.
Except Biden.
But Biden was anti-Trump.
Yeah, after he won.
So Newsom winning maybe as an anti-campaign.
Sure.
But that's happened like very rarely in this country. Newsom is he may be top tier, but he's not special class. Right. Trump is something magical. And I mean his persona, his character, his life story, his golden toilet. There is a uniqueness to his arc. Gavin Newsom is a background character.
It's charisma mixed with intelligence. I don't get the intelligence out of Gavin. I don't know him as well, but like Obama had intelligence and charisma. Trump had intelligence and charisma. Like that's a big combo.
Gavin Newsom is Bradley Cooper in Wedding Crashers. Like Bradley Cooper went on to become a big famous actor. Yeah. He's got a prominent role in the movie, but he's not the main character.
Yeah, he's not the biggest dude. Yeah.
It's Donald Trump up there in the front with Vince Vaughn, and Bradley Cooper is Gavin Newsom, and they're supporting characters.
But one thing as well that's interesting to point out, though, is that you've noticed that Gavin Newsom, I might be wrong on this, you can fact check me, but he rarely goes hard or goes after Trump directly at all. Now, granted, there's a family connection between the Trumps and the Newsom family, like a lot of people aren't aware of.
Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Yeah, Guilfoyle. Yeah, who's now like, but
so she was married to Newsom, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, but the thing is, he very rarely Newsom very rarely goes after Trump directly. You know what I mean? And it's almost like, and even like, remember, there's a massive California wildfires back in the day when Trump was in office. Yeah. Trump came out and there sees the two of them walking together, right? And also, like, hey, during when Gavin had that debate with DeSantis, well, I thought Gavin did really well. When you watch Gavin have that interview with Hannity, he who else goes on Fox? Like, I'll go on Fox, and like, guess what? Like, I thought Gavin Newsom, like, I hated to admit it, but like, oh man, he body slammed Hannity.
I had a vision.
He did a great job against Hannity.
I was like,
which is not much, but you know what I mean.
I had this like vision where I was hanging out with Newsom and Ramaswamy together. Like the three of us were hanging out talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Tight.
Yeah, that was a good feeling.
What did you talk about?
It was just as vague as that. Nothing like specifics, but I just like felt the presence of the two of them working together. That was kind of an interesting.
But every once in a while, I watch that guy talk, and I'm just like, I know he's lying, all that, but son of a bitch. Oh,
The thing is, he has the charisma. He has the personality. He could do it. I think with him not critiquing Trump directly, it's almost right now, at least, because he doesn't want to upset the DNC and Biden administration. If he starts attacking Trump directly, it makes it more obvious he sees himself as the heir apparent and should be the Democratic nominee, which I think he has to tiptoe around, because when he was debating DeSantis, he went out of his way to defend Biden, right?
Yep.
He needs the Biden support. He needs their institution support as much as he needs to.
And Newsom's taking his time. I mean, he's still relatively young. He's got time. He's kind of like he's kind of on the bench in case something happens. He's hanging out, and like, he's got time. He doesn't, like for Trump, for instance, like, this is like Trump's last shot.
Yeah.
I want to play this clip and Wokeness just posted. Here we go.
I'm sitting opposite you, but you are a little overweight.
More than a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
If I could figure that out, I'd fix it.
Do you try to diet?
I think I can figure it out.
Barbara, I've had more diets and lost and gained back more weight in my lifetime than I care to count.
There are people who say that you couldn't be president because you're so heavy. What do you say to them?
No, it's ridiculous.
Taft was president.
But I completely agree.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Come on, man. Calories in, calories out. Don't even come in. And they're not. I don't think all food products are the exact same. So I really don't like. There are people who are like, it's just calories in, calories out, and I'm like, it's technically true, but it doesn't help someone who's like Chris Christie. Yo, Chris, stop eating the bread and the carbs and the sugar. Not kidding. Higher protein, high fat. You get some veggies in there. Just the dude has clearly not talked to a nutritionist. He has clearly not even tried.
And I've seen him in person up close, right?
Yeah.
One time, and I was like, oh my God.
He's
like
huge.
the suit, like, and to be honest, like a lot of the suits he wears, like these guys, it's like those suits are actually pretty slimming, if that's anything. But it's real bad.
And he's actually probably fairly, his legs are probably super ripped because they have to carry all that weight
underneath.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where this sounds crazy, but when you see somebody who's like that big, you're like, okay, there's something going on there. There's something like deeper than just like, it's like, well, why is this? Why is that? I'm not trying to like psychoanalyze, what I mean?
He got a lap band surgery in February 2013. That's when you get like a belt wrapped around your stomach.
He got a lap band?
He lost 100 pounds.
That's where it's like, if he's saying
and
like,
then he weighed at 320.
Whoa.
if he has like some crazy thyroid issue, right? Like that's the only way it could be like, maybe it's really difficult for you to lose weight.
Yeah, but that means he's not trying.
And also maybe I
you go to
don't
a
need
doctor.
you to be president because if you have unexplained medical conditions,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
this is
Look,
not
we-
the
we-
move.
It's like being an alcoholic.
We were talking about this the other day because our spindrifts are certified gluten-free for whatever reasons. Whatever reason. And so, I cut out most carbs and now I've eliminated bread and gluten from my diet, and I actually feel better than ever.
100%, dude.
Like even my skateboarding,
Yeah.
the clips that I've gotten, some of these tricks, some of the best I've ever done.
Sure.
And at 37, I was like, wow, I kind of think the bread is messing me up. I've long thought that. I do think cutting out carbs helps, but we were talking about it, and it usually goes to, it's probably not the bread, it's the chemicals they put in bread in the United States.
That's what I think it is.
Because when we've had European bread, imported flour and things like this,
Right,
or
it's
pure
different.
organic, it is different.
that,
It is different.
Yeah, and like, look, I'm not suggesting that like, hey, if you got to be running for public office, you need to like be the paragon of fitness or anything. But holy crap, you guys, like that's a lot.
It's a health risk, and that's a risk to our national security. If the president falls down and has a heart attack in the middle of the day on a Tuesday, like what's that going to do to the country?
Look,
can't risk that. stuff.
We've got Foo Fighters drummer, right? He died. He was
Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah, experiencing chest pains and then dies.
Yeah.
And they at first they claimed he had drugs in his system, but then the band, I guess, claimed that's not true. He was not doing drugs.
What?
Yeah. And so I'm like, dude, if a fit drummer,
Right.
and they said he was super exhausted because they were playing like crazy. If someone that fit is going to die of a heart issue or whatever, Chris Christie.
Cut out the Azo dies, Chris Christie. Cut him out.
And also say what you want about George W. Bush. That dude is running like a sub 25K in office. I mean, like that dude, Bush was fit.
He was athletic. I was
Very.
reading a little bit about Christie. He used to be an athlete, and then he quit in his 20s to get into politics, and that was when he was at his
Was he
heaviest.
skinny?
No, he was like 350 pounds in college.
Whoa.
350 in college?
But, like,
322.
A 322 like football.
Yo, look at this. Look at this.
Yeah.
That's Chris
Who's that
Christo?
young Chad?
So he's
That's the thing. Like some athletes
What?
carry a lot
Look
of
at
weight,
this.
and like that number sounds weird, but
He's like total Chad, bro.
man.
Yeah, Chris Crisco with the
I
weight.
want him to
Stud.
be healthy. You know
Like-
you got it in you, Chris.
What?
There's no excuse,
Intermittent
man.
fasting, really. It's elimination
Look at that guy.
itself.
What?
Yeah, he's eating garbage and he doesn't care. It's like, if I could figure it out, I'd tell you. Nah, that's not even it.
That
He's
picture
not
of him in
trying.
a baseball
People that are like,
uniform.
I don't
Can
eat
you go
that
back to
much,
that?
but then they snack and they don't realize how much is much, you know?
Yeah. What's that picture of him in the baseball uniform earlier? There we go.
That's a cool one.
Jersey boy.
I see why
He's
they
like a
liked him.
teenager, but that like dude's total Chad, total stud.
That's
What
the
happened?
politician that I would vote.
Yeah.
Like a guy like that, I'm like, he's a leader.
Right.
The weight issue, though, is
That's
like,
wild.
just his lack of self-control.
He started eating and he didn't stop. Like, look, man,
Or
you
drinking
cannot
alcohol.
gain weight if you're not consuming food.
Yeah.
I'm not saying starve yourself. I'm saying go talk to a doctor, nutritionist. There are ways they can help. We were watching this. I watched the show a long time ago. You can probably Google it and figure out which one it is. And they track people and what they eat all day.
Right.
And there's these two morbidly obese women who are like, we don't eat that much. For breakfast, I have a salad, and for lunch, I have a sandwich, and I keep gaining weight. And so
Right.
they follow them around all day filming them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're like, how many calories do you think you ate? And she's like, well, for breakfast, I had 2 eggs and bacon. So that's maybe 300 calories. And then I had for lunch a salad. So that's maybe 400 because of the dressing. So I think I'm maybe around 900. And they're like, you're at 37 because you were eating chocolates and you were eating chips. Because every few minutes you'd walk past and grab a cookie out of a bowl and eat it. And they were like, all of the snacks you ate totaled thousands of calories. Yep.
Hey, if we wanted to talk about deep flaws on when it comes to candidates, one of the things, like, despite all the corruption with Nikki Haley and all that, here's the thing, and, like, I know this might sound like some weird unpopular opinion, and it might sound strange, but it's like, okay, you were a very popular governor in South Carolina. You were the UN ambassador. A lot of people like you. You're well-known, household name, right? Even before she started running for president this time. You got a book deal, all this stuff, and it's like, oh, well, she enriched and on the board of Boeing, are you kidding me? And then it's like, she's only worth like $8 million. Like, I know it sounds weird, but like for that level of game, like, that's not a lot of money.
Yeah,
but also,
it's like you're even suck at that.
There's money somewhere else.
BuzzFeed News actually wrote an article 10 years ago called 7 Photos of a Skinny Chris Christie.
Oh, wow.
The New Jersey governor recently had a lap band surgery to reduce his weight at the urging of his family. Well, it didn't work.
Wow, dude. Yeah, 10 years.
It didn't take. But so we're gonna wrap things up here. I mean, this is a debate night. We usually we don't do members only on debate nights because we don't know how long they go, or you kind of have a general idea. But no, we're gonna wrap it up there. So we'll be back tomorrow, of course, with the regular show and news segments and all that. So you can smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show. Head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, watch Infringed, the new documentary by Lauren Southern, came out just a month or 2 months ago, I think now, right?
About a month.
About a month?
I think a little.
Oh, right. It was beginning of November.
Yeah.
So it's really great, and we recommend it. It's showing people gun culture, explaining the importance of gun rights, and you should definitely check it out. And as a member, you're helping us do all of that. So we've got more documentaries being planned. We're launching one of the biggest private skateboard facilities on the East Coast because we are building culture. Yeah, several $1 million.
Hell yeah.
We're investing several $1 million into a gigantic private skate facility. Several pro skateboarders are coming out. We're going to be wrapping in all the action sports and pro elements because we are going to build and we are going to take over the culture and push out the woke elements. And we're already starting to win. And that's thanks to all of your support. So again, become a member at timcast.com. If you think that is a good thing, you can follow me at Timcast everywhere. Follow at at Boonies HQ on Instagram, I believe is the handle.
I think so.
And we're on YouTube. So follow the Boonies on YouTube or search for Boonies HQ. I'm not sure which one it is on YouTube, you know? Either way, you'll find it.
No, I'm looking.
We just put up, we got a bunch of skate edits that are going up, and the new facility is currently under construction. All the kitchen appliances are coming in. Freedomistan is coming along. It's going to be super amazing. We're building a massive concrete outdoor section, a massive wooden indoor section, and we're going to have mega ramps. We're going to have a lot because I was told by these large industry pros, if you build it, they will come. And so we intend to. And we've already had several victories against the weird woke nonsense that I'll get into later because we're going to play this one light and not just go for the throat. A lot of the woke people who are trying to destroy our industry. But I really do appreciate everyone's support. We're going to be building a lot of culture. Coffee shop, of course. Go to castbrew.com. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. Tom, you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, my name is Tom Sauer at Thomas B. Sauer on the Twitter X machine. I'm the owner of Miramar Health. We are in the life-saving business. We are here to save veterans' lives from addiction and mental health. I've been in D.C. right now, pushing for expanded access to veterans care through the VA, and that's what I've come out here. I'm out in D.C. once a month talking to folks on the Hill, and we're really pushing hard to get the VA to increase the access standards. So when a veteran is showing up to their VA provider in an addiction or mental health crisis, that the VA should put that person into a bed, in a treatment center within 72 hours, which is not a crazy ask. And currently it's like a month. So that's what I'm here for. I push for Miramar Health is the company. Thomas B. Sauer, thank you so much for having me, you guys. Love being here. Looking forward to coming back for a third time.
Yeah, it's been awesome having you on. It was a fun night to be on with.
I know, it's wild.
Us and all our friends at the GOP, I guess. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for SCNR.com, also known as Scanner News. Shout out to all the team that works there: Chris Carr, Chris Bertman, and Cassandra Fairbanks McDonald, and Adrian Norman, and I'm forgetting if there's anyone else. But guys, you're all amazing. You want to follow at Timcast News on Instagram and Twitter still. You can see Scanner's work there. If you want to follow me personally, I'm on Instagram at hannahclaire.b, and I'm on Twitter at HCBrimlow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah Claire. It is Boonies HQ on YouTube. Check it out and subscribe. And also, Tom, your website with Miramar Health. It's miramarhealth.com.
Correct.
Spelled phonetically as you would think it would.
Yep.
I'm Ian Crossland. Follow me on the internet everywhere at Ian Crossland. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Check out my show from earlier. I talked with Chrissy Mayer for an hour. It was awesome. And follow my work there every day. More or less, a show goes up unless I'm not feeling it or there's a cancellation or something else. Subscribe, and I'll see you there.
And I am Serge.com. I've been talking to a lot of you guys on Discord recently. I won't be on there very much, but I'll talk to you as much as I can. Message me on Twix. Follow me at Serge.com. See you guys tomorrow.
So with Boonies HQ and with the coffee shop we're launching, our location in Martinsburg is beginning the process of launching our second floor private club, hangout, and skate shop. And so our initial plan is going to be, it's going to be private. So if you're a member of Timcast.com or of Boonies HQ, because there will be a separate membership for the other website, then you have membership access to come and hang out in the physical location. And we're going to have skate gear, equipment, and other things. And it's going to be at lower rates because you're members. So effectively like a Costco style, but for a skate shop. And you're going to hang out. Right now we're ordering sofas. We're going to put 2 TVs facing away from each other with PlayStation, Xbox, video game consoles. So you can play multiplayer, play video games, hang out. And a lot more planned for the space. It's decently large. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a little mini bar hangout, but it's private. So there's a lot we can do with a private space. And we're hoping to have that up very, very soon because it's actually really, really easy to do. All we got to do is order the stuff and put it in there and then have someone open the door and y'all can come hang out. Going to be super exciting. The coffee shop, there's a lot of construction that has to happen. So that's taking forever. But the private club section is going to be super easy. So that's coming really, really soon and really excited. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all tomorrow.